The biggest show of the year, the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania XL, is taking place this Saturday and Sunday. Will Cody Rhodes finish the story? Who will win between Mami versus the Man? Will Bayley win the Women's Championship? Will Drew finally have his moment in front of fans? We've got so much to talk about, but before we do that, let's go through the match card of what we're discussing here today. I feel like Mojo Rawley. I get hyped, and when it comes to this show, I'm going to stay hyped. I'm really looking forward to WrestleMania 40. My excitement levels are a 10 out of 10. I cannot wait for it. I think it's been a very well-built show. I think a lot of matches have been, well, pretty much when you look at it, they've been being built for a long time. Even some of the matches that you think yourself, oh, I don't know, like LA Knight and AJ Styles was a minor match on the show. It's had about 3 to 6 months worth of build. When AJ got injured, LA took his place. So it's actually been really well put together. Even like when you look with Final Testament and Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, it's been building since January. So every match, no matter what you go through, how minor to how big it is, and obviously Cody and Roman has been going on. This is the second main event in 2 years for these two. So there's been a lot of long-term booking when it comes to this one. I'm really hyped for it. Are you feeling the same for me with a, dare I say, a perfect 10?
I am going to say a 10 for excitement levels, but there's also another key factor that we're kind of missing out or skipping over here, is the fact that there's a lot of stuff that's going to carry on after Mania. Mania tends to be WWE's end of calendar year kind of thing, where it's right, we hit reset, we start again, we build for next year. But there's, I think, a lot of stuff that will happen this year in Mania that will play into storylines moving on further into the year and possibly into WrestleMania next year as well.
I like it. And do you know what? I think you could be bang on the money with that one, especially in the main event scene. It's going to be very exciting to see indeed. And obviously, just before we quickly go into the comments, just to pick out one match of all 13 at the time of recording, which match are you most looking forward to? It's very hard.
Dude, I don't think there is. I honestly can't give you one. I mean, yeah, I could easily say Cody Roman, just because, you know, there's always the hype that Cody may actually finish the story this year. There's the Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, Randy Orton triple threat, because that looks like that's going to be an absolute banger. There's the tag team match from main event night 1 that could be an absolute banger. For the first time ever, I cannot give you a match that I'm most excited for.
Because there's so many of them, and I think that's
there's
a good
so
thing.
Many.
There is so many. For me, look, you know, I think Gunther and Sami has potential to steal the whole weekend. I think it's going to be an amazing match. But if you're asking me a match I'm most looking forward to, it's got to be The Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth on night 1. The tag team match has been built superbly. If anything, I want to see Cody versus The Rock desperately, but it's all been put together already for night 2 with Cody and Roman. We know the fallout of what it's going to be like, so it's very exciting to see how it's going to play out. And night 1 is going to have a lot of implications going into night 2. It's good to see there's a bit of continuity with the shows being put together. But let's go in the comments to see what everyone's got to say. Good to see everyone here. Pierre is in the house, says, I'm here. It's good to have you here, my friend. You know, he's going to be at WrestleMania. He says hi to everyone in the chat. And so he wants to say it again. He's going to be at Lincoln Financial Field at WrestleMania 40 and go into my car to Philadelphia this Friday. Hope you have an amazing time at WrestleMania 40. Very happy for you. Have the most amazing time. And to speak Carl from On the Mark Wrestling Podcast is in the house as well. He was at WrestleMania last year. He says, Happy Mania Week, gentlemen. He's going to be very busy on the Mark Wrestling Podcast and as well with the Main Event Wrestling Network as well. He's going to be live, I think, for 2 or 3 of the next days.
I'm very jealous of his thumbnail. I've just seen who he's got a picture with in that photo, and I'm very, very envious.
Absolutely, indeed. She's always on top. Joe asking nice and early, do we think John Cena will return? Honestly, I think there's a potential, but I think that it's not set in stone.
I think the tease is there, and I think, like, I don't want to get too excited for the fact that it may play into something to do with that tag team match, or it may come in to do with the main event, and it doesn't happen. So I'm on the fence with this one.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm on the fence. I will commit though when we get to night 2's main event, because that's when I think we'll be discussing that in a bit more detail. Noob coming house as well says hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. Noob says, what match are we least looking forward to? To be honest, I don't think there is. I'm quite hyped, even with the matches that I think I would be least looking forward to. Usually of a show, like I said, there's a lot of hype for this show for me.
Yeah, I can't say there isn't a match I'm not looking forward to. I mean, the 6-woman tag match has probably had that's probably had the least build, but I'm still expecting it to be a killer match. Same with kind of like LA Knight AJ, like you said, it's been building for a while. They've done a lot in the last couple of weeks to really get me invested in that storyline now, and I'm kind of more excited for it now than I was maybe 3 weeks ago. So I say, like I said, I think storyline wise, 6-woman tag match, but that's the only reason why.
I think if I have to go, because I don't want to dodge the question, Lou, so I'll give you a proper answer. If I had to pick one, I guess I'm going to go with Ray and Dragon Lee against Santos and Dominic. I just feel it's a bit, I don't know, if it's just thrown on the card. That's kind of, I suppose, for me with that one. It just kind of got thrown together because it was going somewhere with Ray and Santos, and then all of a sudden Dominic just came in out of nowhere. We've had Ray versus Dominic before, then Dragon Lee's been brought in, but I still think we can get a fun conclusion. That's the thing with me. That's why I'm not too downbeat on it. So we're going to see how it's going to all play out. Pierre here with a comment that says, Jade Cargill was going to have a first match of WrestleMania 40 this weekend. Absolutely for WWE. You are correct. Well, if you don't count the Royal Rumble, it's basically an actual match where it has a pinfall, a submission, not just throwing someone over the top rope. C Nation says, good to see WWE finally splitting up those WWE tag team titles. They are indeed. It's exciting to see how it will go down. CD, very, very kind of you to say, yeah, I'll try not to dodge the questions if I can help it. But I'll tell you what, we've got a lot to get through. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight in to WrestleMania Saturday. That's where we're going to start things off. We're going to do night 1, then we're going to go through and do night 2. So yes, we will do halfway through the stream. You will find out about the tag team match with Cody, Seth, Roman, and Rock. And at the end of the video, we'll be discussing night 2 with Cody versus Roman. But we're going to start off hot, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start off then with one of the biggest matches on the show, one that potentially I think could open WrestleMania, which sounds crazy because it's a big time match indeed. Of course, we're talking about the WWE Women's World Championship. We're talking Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, Mami versus The Man. Honestly, when it comes to this one, NXT, just to get your thoughts on it, how have you felt with the build? Obviously, these two have been almost crossing paths. It feels backstage on different occasions, just before SummerSlam, just before Survivor Series, just before the Rumble. Feels like we've been teasing this match for the longest time. Rhea Ripley wanted Becky as a match, but feels to a degree that Becky had been doing other things and not really been focusing attention where it should have been on Mami. Eventually, she did Elimination Chamber. Of course, that's when she won and got herself this championship opportunity. But then Becky kind of felt she had some points to prove. She faced Nia, she faced Liv Morgan, and of course, really left it late before she turned her attention to Rhea Ripley, who now you could say is making some jokes, but certainly is bringing Becky's family involved as well. It's got quite personal, certainly towards the latter stages of this match heading into WrestleMania. And I think one that certainly could be a big time deal when it comes to it. What would be your thoughts with this one?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's been long time teased for God, the longest time ever now, and Rhea has essentially gone through the entire women's locker room to get to this point where it almost like Rhea's out of opponents almost. I think apart from maybe a Jade Cargill and a Liv Morgan, yeah, it's kind of like it's really sort of the last place to go, and it's going to be interesting. Like, this is the problem I'm also going to have with this match card is that a lot of these are really hard to predict in terms of, like I said, what's going to happen going forward, who's going to face who and stuff like that. And even starting with like this one, I'm still struggling to think of a logical reason why Rhea should walk away with this title and why Becky should walk away with this title. I mean, obviously Becky's been playing as she's obviously had the odds stacked against her for months now. She's had to deal with Nia Jax, and I'm glad that didn't end like spontaneously and there was kind of a bit of a build to it, but then it was like kind of like then they all of a sudden threw Liv in the mix for no reason, well, not for no reason, but for like the shortest amount of time. So yeah, it's just one of them things with me that gets a little nitpicky, that I don't understand why we'd go through this, but like I said, I am excited for the match. It's just I'm going to need you to give me your feed, and hopefully that'll give me some clarity as to who my decision is going to be when it comes to making a prediction.
So this is how I see it. I feel to myself that Rhea's been a very dominant champion. Becky, though, can never be counted out. We obviously seen she won the NXT Women's Championship last year. She won the Chamber this year. So there's momentum going in. Like I said, she's beaten Liv Morgan, beaten Nia Jax. But one thing that I find is a little detail that she revealed on Era Hawani's podcast recently. She's got 2 months left on that contract. I just don't feel to myself that she will be I don't see her winning a championship when she's got so little time on her contract left. Do I see her going somewhere else? No, I do not. I think if for some reason she's not with WWE in 3 months' time, I think she'll take a break from wrestling. I think she'll do other projects. She'll come back when she's ready. However, I don't think Becky will go anywhere. I think she'll be sticking around. But at the same time, Rhea Ripley, for me, this is a defining moment at WrestleMania. Becky Lynch has already been there. She's won main events. She's won big-time matches, big-time bets. She's been there, done it, wore the T-shirt. It's about making a new star here. Now, Rhea Ripley is already technically one of the biggest stars in the women's division. She beat Charlotte Flair last year, and she's had a dominant year run. For me, I think she continues it. I think the Rhea Ripley wins here. She'll go on to say Liv Morgan after this, I think, which make the most sense, perhaps going to draft season. And after that, I think we can start building a path for potential. I think is the only person I think at the moment could potentially take this title off of her. I think is Bianca Belair. And I think that'll be the direction for next year's WrestleMania. It's an early prediction for me that Rhea versus Bianca will be for WrestleMania 41. And I think it'll be a main event for this title.
See, that's crazy having Rhea go 2 years as well on a title run. Like, we've just had Roman, and Roman obviously has been very 50-50 some of the times with the length on it. I mean, I can agree with what you're saying with Becky. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that she probably wants to maybe do a book tour, promote the book a little bit more. Maybe it's the reason why. There's obviously the whole Judgment Day story as well. I mean, like, I'm sitting there trying to think what would possibly happen going forward. I mean, there's no money, women's money in the bank, so no one could be cashed in on. I think I'm going to have to agree with you, and I'm going to have to say Rhea as well, just for the pure fact I think that I think Judgment Day are going to have a big weekend this weekend, and I think if Rhea is retaining, that it kind of makes more sense with everything else that's going to happen.
I could agree with you, and we're going to see if we actually think alike as this stream goes on. Because
I can already tell we are.
Sorry,
I can already tell we're going to agree.
I have a feeling we're going to as well. It's going to be very interesting. But we've gone for Rhea Ripley anyway. Let's go into the comments and see what people have got to say. We'll be doing the best of the comments we can get up as well. And try and keep them on topic if you can, ladies and gents, because it just helps us get through the 13 matches a bit easier on this stream, because we will get there to the topics as we go through every match. P.S. This is a dream match, Mami versus the Man. I completely agree. I will let go for these first ones just so everyone gets their comments up. But C Nation says Roman Reigns will have the most WrestleMania main events after WrestleMania 40. To be fair, you can't argue with that. He's doing 2 of them this weekend. Rhea Ripley retains. Would like to see Becky continue to lose her identity as the Man after Mania. I agree. I think that Becky's on a bit of a journey right now, and I think it would be interesting to see what she would do after this. And like I say, Rhea continues to be dominant at this particular time. Let's see what we've got in the comments here. Pierre here saying, I say Rhea Ripley is still the Women's World Champion, and it'll be the biggest win of her career on the grandest stage of them all. Would you say it's the biggest win over Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair?
No, I would only say Charlotte, just for the fact that Charlotte is that decorated 14-time champion, and it's winning the title. It's going in as the contender instead of the champ. I think makes the match against Charlotte the bigger thing. I think this would just be a great victory, but I think the Charlotte one was a bigger match.
I think the Charlotte one put her on the map. I think this one solidifies her to be the biggest star of all the women's divisions. So I think they both have that equal importance in a way for different reasons, but it's going to be interesting to see how it will play out. PS suggests that Liv Morgan should be the one to take the title away from Rhea. Do you agree with that?
I mean, hey, there is a plethora of women on the SmackDown roster that Rhea hasn't had the opportunity to destroy yet. You can say Liv Morgan. I'm going to say Jade, Cargill. You said Bianca Belair. Charlotte Flair can still return, and obviously we've done previously. I'm sure it's up now, isn't it? The watch along for Rhea versus Charlotte from last year. It's on the channel, right? Go and watch that because that's great. But we've discussed, obviously, in that video that they could do a trilogy of matches at Mania, which could be the option for next year. So there is a catalogue of people that could take that title off of Rhea.
There certainly is. Just a quick one, because I know that this will be a talking point with a lot of people in the community. Obviously, Liv Morgan not on WrestleMania, neither is Nia Jax. I thought they'd be added as a singles match. It's not happened. Do you think that that's a disappointment, or the fact is that we have 13 matches already? We've got enough.
Unfortunately, I just think we've got it. There's already a lot of matches, and I think all the matches they've gone with have had a longer build than what they could have possibly done with a Liv versus Nia. Obviously, Liv's main focus is Rhea Ripley. So Nia's main focus was Becky, and it's kind of like for them two to have a match, it kind of feels underwhelming. I wouldn't be surprised though if we don't get a women's battle royal on the SmackDown, and one of those two is probably Liv is probably favourite to win it.
We'll see how it goes down. Nothing been announced as of yet, but I wouldn't have minded seeing the match on the show. But obviously, we have 13 matches already. Like you say, it's not been built enough for that position, so it's a shame.
There's 2-hour kickoff shows, and it's like, why couldn't you have thrown the battle royals and the kickoff shows? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah, I totally understand that. Indeed, there. CD says it wouldn't have, shouldn't overdo title reigns. It wouldn't hurt to have a 5-month reign. I understand that. I think Rhea's just going to be one of those ones that's going to have it for a long time. I don't know about 1,000 days though, Pierre. That could be getting a bit too much, even for me, even for Silk, to be fair. But Rhea retains the string for the Hawk. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Rhea Ripley, because we need that Bianca versus Rhea match. We got Scott Retro Wrestling in house. Great to see that. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Keeping things very retro on his channel with some great content. Check it out. And also Eric Douglas says, I'm making my own video about Liv Morgan, a fan base, coming in about 10 minutes. Well, we will see at the end of this one, Eric, if you don't mind, but we give you the plug anyway for that. So we look forward to seeing that on your channel. But in the meantime, we will move on to match number 2. And I'll tell you what, things are going to get chaotic very quickly on this channel, because we're going to talk about a ladder match. That's right. We're going to talk about, of course, the Judgment Day Unified Tag Team Champions. But the difference about this is Michael Cole on Raw did say that this match will continue until both sets of championships have been removed from the ladder. So this means one title can be taken and the other one is still in play. So we've got Finn Balor and Damian Priest from the Judgment Day. We've got the New Day, Kofi and Xavier. We've got DIY, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. New Catch Republic, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. We've got Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, of course, A-Town Down Under. And of course, we've got Awesome Truth, The Miz and R-Truth. My first question then coming to you, since Michael Cole made reference to that on Raw. Yes, it looks like we are going to be splitting those tag team titles, but do you think that was said because that's the plan and it may have been too confusing at WrestleMania had people just seen it and it not been explained before?
I think the hardcore fans, see, this is the dynamic I was going with, is that someone pulls down the red strap and someone else pulls down the blue strap, and they declare them both as winners of those brands. So, for instance, you have New Day win one and DIY win the other, but like one of them pulls down the red, one of them pulls down the red, and that's how they split them. I am actually a much bigger fan that they've explained that these titles are going to be separated. I think it makes this match a bit more interesting now as well. The fact that we're going to have 2 winners. I actually love the sound of this, man. Like, I'm really excited for this match now.
In theory, one team could still go and win both sets of titles. They could climb the ladder twice. So it's still a possibility. But obviously, just to quickly go through this, I mean, there's been a lot of qualifying matches to get to this position. Balor and Priest are walking in with 2 sets of championships. They could walk away with none. There seems to be the most problems with Judgment Day and Awesome Truth. So you imagine that that would be perhaps a bit of a problem. But DIY have been in the mix as well. So it's going to be interesting how it's all going to play out. But I mean, this is a sort of match where we know it's going to be chaotic. 12 guys in the ring or around the ring at the same time. So it's going to be hard to keep control of it. The cameramen have probably got the hardest job of everybody during this match. So let's quickly go through it and say, first off, do you think there'll be one tag team champion, or do you think there'll be 2 tag team champions at the end of this match?
I am going to go with the basis that they're going to be 2 tag team champions, because we have needed it for so long, because they have so many tag teams and they're all vying for the same tag team titles, and we all want more tag team matches. Well, I want more tag team matches. So for me, I'm going to say they split and we get 2 separate winners here. It makes it a bit easier for me to make a prediction now, because again, I was really sort of strung up as who I was going to pick, but now I'm a little bit more confident if I can give 2 options.
I like it. I feel the same as well. I think it's going to happen. I will make mention very quickly, A-Town Down Under. There has been some rumors going around that could be pulled from this tag team match. I don't know if it's injury related or what the reasoning for it could be, but there has been rumors of that.
I think this might actually be able to do with something that happened on TikTok. So what I've seen is Theory and Waller were in a gym recording themselves doing their exercises like most gym buffs do, and apparently someone walks in front of the camera and they start squaring off, and apparently they've got into a beef with a TikToker, and that might be the reason. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I've seen today. So who knows? Like, some TikToker, I know who the TikToker is. He randomly reacts to people criticizing gym etiquette and like people having a go at people doing stuff in the gym, and he's like, no, you're in the wrong because you shouldn't be doing whatever, blah blah blah. And Theory and Waller are actually one of the latest two that he did apparently. So yeah, and he's apparently threatened. Well, I think it was Theory's threatened to beat up the guy or something or whatever on an Instagram post. It's very, I don't know if it's kayfabe or if it's shoot, but yeah, I think that might be something to do with it.
Interesting if that's the case. We'll say speculation at this particular moment because we don't know at the moment. So allegedly that could be the reason, if or not. But we'll find out on SmackDown. I think that's where we'll probably know because they're meant to be facing New Catch Republic if that's going to be the scenario. But prediction time it comes down to. You said you have two teams ready. I have two teams ready. So what's going to be your teams and which titles are they winning?
Well, one of my teams was going to be Theory and Waller because I thought like Theory needs something, and Waller's been doing some great stuff for the last year. So I was going to pick them, but since they're up in the air, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say DIY because I think DIY deserve it. And who are the SmackDown teams? It's Theory and Waller, and I'm trying to think of the other team.
New Catch Republic.
I don't really want to say because that's 4 NXT guys winning tag team titles, and I really don't want to say it, which is why I was going to say Theory and Waller, and the other 4 are like big Triple H guys, but I'll say it, New Catch Republic, and I'm going to say DIY.
So I'm going to go with Awesome Truth to win the Raw Tag Team titles. It just feels right for me that R-Truth has that. They've said as well he's never won at WrestleMania, and they've really made a play about the New Day not winning a lot of Mania either. Kofi's the only ones who've ever won at WrestleMania. So I think the New Day win the SmackDown tag team titles, and I think they'll be moving to the blue brand imminently, especially as the fact that they have no reasons to stay on Raw. I think they faced every tag team over there.
Yeah, for me though, I just think that's too many veterans winning tag team titles. I think I could understand. I could go with 50-50 with one, say for instance, Truth and Miz winning one, but I'd have to have someone new like DIY or New Catch Republic win the other ones. I just for me, I think that needs to happen. Like I don't know how many reigns. I know what the Dudley Boys got like 8 tag team reigns, and this is the only thing I was thinking with New Day. I don't know what New Day are currently on for tag team reigns. I don't know if they want to push them more towards the record or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to counter opposite you. Unfortunately, I'm going to say the 2 new teams do it rather than the 2 old teams.
I think that's a fair one there. I've quickly got to just sort out the daughter very quickly. Unfortunately, I do apologize, but I have a big question that I'm going to ask you in the meantime with regards to this. Is the fact with these tag team championships, and it's just a topic maybe that our chat can maybe sort of bring up as well. Do you think that they should stay as Raw or SmackDown tag team champions, or would you prefer them to have with perhaps the draft coming up? Would it make more sense to go with perhaps maybe the World Tag Team titles and the WWE Tag Team titles?
Yeah, for me, I think you have to be. They've done it with the Universal Championship. We've got rid of the silly blue strap. We've got rid of the silly red straps. They've gone and changed the women's titles and gone to World and WWE titles. It makes sense for them to change the tag team titles and go back to the World Tag Team Champions and the WWE Tag Team Champions. Plus, we can get some new designs and we can equally get rid of them silly red and blue straps. And like the coin I've always been a fan of. I always appreciated the plate once they got rid of the bronze one and it went to the silver. But I think especially with Vince leaving the company as well, I think it's time for a complete refresh, change up, give WWE a whole new look and just completely change them tag team titles and separate them. And I mean, yeah, I think that's what I'd have to go with. But yeah, I mean, I can't really complain otherwise. Like, I'd just like saying before with the actual winners of the match, I think if you had, Miz and Truth, and if you had the New Day winning as well, it's 2 veteran teams for me, and I can't really see it happening. I'd like DIY have come so close on so many times to winning them tag teams, and I really would have gone with Waller and Grayson just because. Waller and Theory, just because the fact that Theory, since he lost that Money in the Bank briefcase, has done nothing. And Grayson Waller's just been a great heel. He's done loads of stuff. He's been doing great stuff all year, and I think he needed to be rewarded. But I mean, if they're going to replace him, I would say put in maybe Pretty Deadly. I Whether they're going to do something on SmackDown on Friday, I don't know. That's the only issue I've got now is who do you replace them with? Because there is a few tag teams you could replace them with, but I think for me, I'd put Pretty Deadly in there. I think Pretty Deadly have been consistent all year, and I'd go with them.
Sounds cool. Sounds cool to me. I've missed a lot of that, unfortunately, as you probably realize.
I said yes, they should change them to WWE World Championship titles.
I do as well, and I heard Pretty Deadly at the end there, and I agree. That's what I'm going to say.
I don't need if you're going to replace them, put Pretty Deadly in there.
I think that sounds good. Yeah, I think that's a great show actually, because then they deserve to have a spot. I would say at WrestleMania. I was actually surprised they weren't in this match to begin with. Cindy asking if there'll be WrestleMania SmackDown predictions. Yes, that is already recorded. I'll be dropping that video tomorrow on the channel, so just so you know that will be coming up tomorrow. It'll be a short upload, but it will be here for you tomorrow. Eric Douglas wants another match because we have 6 matches on night 2 and only we have 7 on night 1. I can see that, but I think that Cody Rhodes can get a lot of time. That's what I'm saying, a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm excited to see how we're going to see the ladder match in the crowd. Pierre, I'm pretty sure you'll see people at the top of the ladder. You won't need to worry about them at the bottom, my friend. You'll just see them flying off the top. That's all you need to worry about. So yeah, going to be fantastic. CD here says that it makes no sense of them said that the Raw titles and SmackDown tag team titles was unified. Now they're going to break them up again. Understand it, but I think in a way though it makes sense to do this over the fact of saying, right, okay, we're just going to unify those two. There'll be the WWE tag team titles and here's World Tag Team titles. I think this is a better way to do it.
I think as long as they do it after, so for instance, whoever wins the SmackDown titles will move to SmackDown, then they rebrand them, because it gives them it's a cheap option to just move some tag teams around, get someone else on a different show, and then same vice versa with a SmackDown team winning the Raw titles, just move them over, and then like I was saying before, change them and just give them a completely new look to them. And they've done it with the women's titles, so there's no reason why they can't do it with the tag team titles.
Yeah, I can understand that indeed. Then, and they have been doing that, so I think it would be a good thing, especially when it comes to draft, because there's someone switch the teams around. I hate when they do the pass the parcel with the championship. So, but we're seeing quite a few suggestions here of winners here at the bottom here. And Scott Retro Wrestling says, could they do if one team pulls down the red belts, so they can't get the blue ones? I'm not sure of that rule. That's not been clarified. I don't know if that team is automatically finished with the match or they can continue. That's not been clarified. But I imagine they can continue, because Judgment Day wouldn't be happy if they could only win one of their own tag team titles that are pending. So I'm guessing that all titles are still in play. That would be my guess of this one. And to speak on, it says Grayson and Fury in the SmackDown, Awesome Truth with the Raw. It does kind of feel a little bit that Awesome Truth are quite popular with people here. It reminds us as well of the WrestleMania 2000, of course, with He Who Shall Not Be Named, Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle, of course, back in the day, 2 falls, triple threat match. Absolutely indeed. We'll do a couple of more comments and then we'll move on to our next match. So says we've got to have a heel team win another strap, in my opinion. Exactly. I think that's fair. Then it varies things up on both shows. And of course, Scott Richards says I'd like to separate. I'd have 2 separate things to grab, red belt and blue belt on the other. Fair enough with that. We've just to say very quickly, we've then gone for Judgment Day here to lose here at this moment. Do we save what we're going to say until we talk about Dominic Mysterio, or do we do it now?
That's up to you, man. You go for it.
Well, let's save it for Dominic Mysterio. So to keep you all holding on just that little bit longer if you're desperate to hear what we're going to say about it. Mostly Machine Guns shock the world. It could debut in WWE. It could happen. Raw after Mania. They are rumored with AEW, it seems, at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Eric Douglas, the last question before we move on then. If Awesome Truth doesn't win, what do you do with Awesome Truth? I think you let them go their own separate ways.
Sorry, say that again. Also, I was trying to find out more about the theory and one other thing just to try and find some stuff about it. What do you do with Awesome Truth? Dude, Truth will always have a spot, man. He's always a comedy. Miz, I think with Miz, you have to put him back in the IC title phase. I think for him going for is it Boss Man who has the most IC title runs, or is it Honky Tonk? I forget now who has the most IC.
Most runs, as I see.
Who's most IC title? Jericho. Yeah, I think Miz should go back into that scene, just because I think that should be his goal now, to cement himself in history, is to be the most crowned IC champion in WWE history.
Well, for him to do that, he's going to need a brand new IC champion. And speaking of which, Let's talk about
Love it.
Gunther versus Sami Zayn. You couldn't have done it better if you tried.
You know.
So yeah, that's our Intercontinental Championship match. Of course, Sami Zayn was unsure of his direction for WrestleMania 40 if he would get one. Of course, then he found his way into the Intercontinental Championship scene. Of course, he went through a gauntlet to become #1 contender. And now, well, the person he beat in the final of that gauntlet was Chad Gable. And Chad Gable said that this meant more to him to face Gunther because it was to do with his kids. Justice for Gable. Love that in the background there. Get a hashtag in, everybody. But at the same time, he's told Sami Zayn, you can't do it. You're not going to get this job done because, you know, you've got the ability, but you don't believe you can do it. And Gunther's able to get in your head. Obviously, we had a fantastic training package this past Monday on Raw, which I thoroughly enjoyed. The only minor problem I have with this is I would have liked to have seen a few more weeks with this rivalry, just to let it blossom that bit more, really sort of have that Chad Gable and Sami Zayn relationship blossom more, and just see what Sami's actually learned from the academy, because I feel like I've not seen that as of yet. But apart from that, I have to think in my head here that this match has the ability to steal the whole weekend. Gunther, 5-star classic last year, Sami Zayn as well. These two together just screams 5 stars from Meltzer.
It does. And as much as I've been saying for probably the last year that Chad Gable should be the one to dethrone Gunther because he's had such a killer run. And when we had the Raw last week and he was telling Sami that you can't do it, I was like, oh my God, are we actually going to get a heel Chad Gable at this point? And I was like, I really hope not. Because like he's so liked at the minute that I think it'd be crazy for them to turn him heel on the whims of him not being able to beat Sami Zayn. It just seems a bit crazy. But then obviously we get that fantastic video package this week where, dude, man, if anything's going to get you pumped and make you think Sami Zayn's got a chance to do it, what a great video package, man. Like, I was so gassed to watch it, man. It was such a good thing to see. Yeah. People are probably not going to like my prediction, but my prediction is on the basis that Sami's going to go on and do something bigger and better, and I think that Gunther's going to retain here. And I'm still putting Sami down as winning Money in the Bank this year because it's in Canada, and I think that Sami winning a world title with a cash in on the Money in the Bank is a bigger achievement than winning the IC title over Gunther. But what happens if then Gunther loses that title, but then becomes world champion, and then Sami cashes in that Money in the Bank contract and takes the world title off of Gunther, and we have some long-term storytelling? That's what I'm going for. I'm going to say Gunther retains.
I like it. I like it. I feel a little bit you were cooking there just for a second. I could just see you stirring the pot there as it was going on, and you were liking what was going on there. Yeah, I liked where you were going with it as well. To be honest, here I have to say, when I did the predicted match card for this, funnily enough, predicted Gunther versus Sami and predicted KO in the triple threat match as well with Logan and Randy. And my initial thing on that video was that I thought Sami and KO would get the Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero moment of WrestleMania 20, would both have championships and celebrate on night 2 together. However, I don't think it's going to happen anymore. I think the direction has just gone a bit weird to do that sort of thing, because obviously Chad Gable was in the corner of Sami Zayn at the moment. And you mentioned something quite fun there about Chad Gable's heel turn potentially. I think it could happen. I really, and here's my reasoning why. It did seem a bit out of the blue and a bit harsh that he just would tell Sami, you can't do it. He's not been able to get the job done recently. He has been frustrated, and he's in the Battle Royal for WrestleMania SmackDown. Spoiler alert, he's not winning that.
He's also been very separated from the rest of Alpha Academy recently in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly where I was going with that. Yeah, he's been separated with those. I think we're going to get a more Kurt Angle style Chad Gable going into the draft. I think he's going to go in that direction. Okay. Whether it be as well as it be successful as a Kurt Angle, I'm not sure. But I would not be surprised if, because the Creed brothers are doing nothing either, he has his own form of like Team Gable. I can't think of a better name yet, because obviously Alpha Academy is the name of the group, but it's become a comedy act, and I think Gable is ready to move on to that next level, and I think perhaps something like that would work for him quite well.
So maybe Gunther retains, and then Sami challenges him on Raw the following night or Monday night, and he wins the IC title from him, and that's where we get the heel turn. Maybe, maybe there's something in that.
it makes sense in a way, but then also I think it could make sense that Gable could be like, I trained you and you still couldn't get the job done.
Yeah. And he obviously says that you'll never be me. Do you know what I mean? I tried to put you on the same level as me to beat Gunther. I knew you couldn't be him. Do you know what? It's sounding more and more plausible, man. Like you said, teased it before with a Kurt Angle style run for Chad Gable, dude. I'm all behind it, man. Like I was a bit hesitant, but now you've said that, I'm behind it now. I can back it.
I know I'm overplaying it a little bit because I'm not saying Chad Gable's going to be world champion in a couple of months. So I hope people realize that when they heard that comment, but he will break out to be mid-card champion at some point in 2024, whether it's US champion, whether it's IC champion, whichever brand he lands on. But I think it's going to be a fresh start for Gable coming out of WrestleMania. We've gone pretty much talked about Gable more than that match to a degree at the end there, but we think Gunther is going to retain nonetheless there. So I'm interested to see what people are going to say with this one. Pierre reckons that Sami Zayn is going to win this one. Can we stop having Sami as an underdog? Can we have Sami really Usi at WrestleMania? We hopefully can get Usi at WrestleMania, but look,
to be fair, Sami is an underdog. He's only an underdog against Gunther because Gunther is the most dominant IC champion in history. Otherwise, he's not really been much of an underdog since last year when they won the tag titles off of the Usos.
Technically, you're right. Technically, but he does
Everyone's
play
an underdog to Gunther.
One. Yeah, everyone's the underdog to Gunther. I would agree with that one there. If Gunther loses the RT title, he starts to feud with Seth Rollins, no longer champion after WrestleMania 40. Well, it depends if Seth is champion or not, but that's certainly a feud I wouldn't mind seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be something fresh. This is what I mean. The next year is going to be so big for so many wrestlers. I think Gunther is one of them wrestlers, depending on what happens this weekend or following. Do you know what I mean? The next week or so on Raw, and like this comment here even says from Scott that obviously possibly losing the title to Ilya Dragunov. Ooh, that's a brave shout.
Absolutely. CD Nation says that someone is mimicking him in the chat. There's a fake CD in the chat. Let me know what comment is fake, and we will remove that person from the chat. So just let us know that. Agree with Scott Retro Wrestling, by the way, as well, that I think that Ilya Dragunov could be that person. It would be quite fun. And yeah, I think Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn's feud could be quite fun after WrestleMania. Tino's time in the house. Hope you're doing well, Tino. Thank you for joining us. It's always Tina's time, whatever time in the world you are. And Yusef in the house as well. Thank you, Yusef. We've got my standard predictions already on the channel, so make sure you check those out. They're just right there, the top video. You can go and check that out right now if you want to, and then come back and check us out for WrestleMania. There we go. Okay, fair enough. We know which comment it is. Well, in the meantime, but while I deal with that, we're going to bring up match 4. We're going to be talking about Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill taking on Damage Control members Dakota Kai and the Women's Tag Team Champions, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. Now, obviously, Damage Control have been feuding with Bianca Belair for a good couple of years now. Obviously, now Naomi's got in the mix trying to help out Bayley. Of course, Bayley's broke away from Damage Control. So we've seen Damage Control start with Naomi. Bianca Belair eventually said, well, I've got to get my girls back. She's looked after her. And Jade Cargill's kind of been surfacing in the background as well. And now, obviously, she's come to the defense of these two ladies as well to go against Damage Control. And obviously, they stood tall at the end of SmackDown. They all pointed at the sign. They looked like superheroes. It was a pretty awesome sight to see, to be fair. And, we've got Damage Control here who, let's be fair, I'm not going to waste time on this one. I think it's the most easiest prediction of the whole weekend here. I think that Bianca, Naomi, and Jade are winning here, and I think the big intrigue, obviously, it's Jade Cargill's opening match. Belair's undefeated streak at WrestleMania continues, and Naomi's back as well. I just feel there's the multiple things. Who's taking the pinfall?
Probably Dakota Kai, because the other two are the tag team champions. I think that's the easiest option, really. I think kind of sums it up itself. It's the easiest way to get Jade on the show and Bianca without having them in a title match, essentially.
There you go indeed. It's going to be interesting how it's going to play out, but anyone that wants to share their thoughts of this one in the chat, then feel free to do so. Yeah, with a great comment, to be fair. Can't wait to see Jade Cargill's entrance of WrestleMania in the crowd. The entrance and SmackDown was incredible. It really was an awesome way that she debuted last week with the entrance as well, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome with WrestleMania, because obviously they have these big entrances at WrestleMania. You think Jade will have something special to debut with?
I don't know, because I think it's too early for it. I get that they've waited so long to put her on a show and to have her actually do anything. But the fact that they were arguing like mere 30 minutes before she even debuted, like on what her entrance and stuff should be, just seems crazy. And I think it's way too early to have a special entrance for WrestleMania. You've got to earn that. You've got to have paid your dues and taking your L's and put your grind in and earn that special entrance and earn your pyro for WrestleMania.
Absolutely, indeed. Absolutely. Eric says, will Oscar ever win at WrestleMania? Maybe at some point, but apparently 0-6 at WrestleMania currently. Maybe that's a storyline you can actually have. There's a storyline you can do. The Big Show had this at one point, then he got his big win. It's a storyline waiting for a 1 year.
Dude, but this was an Asuka that was undefeated in NXT for however long and has gone on to not win a single match at WrestleMania. It's a joke and a shambles in itself.
It is a little bit, but sometimes just certain stages just don't work for certain performers. At the moment, it's just not work. But maybe Oscar will get her moment one day. But we'll move on in the meantime. We're going to talk about Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. Dirty Dom, they call him. Obviously, this one's been brewing for a long time, obviously, with Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. But recently, when they had their match on SmackDown, Dominic Mysterio was the reason he kind of eliminated himself from Judgment Day business, didn't even tell them what he was on his mission to do. But of course, if he's going to go and destroy the hopes of his deadbeat dad, I guess, well, they don't blame him at that point. But then Rey Mysterio said that we'll have a tag team match at WrestleMania, and of course he had Carlito by his side, along with the rest of the LWO, and teased that someone that's been a good friend of his for a long time, and all the rest of it's really hyping up this tag team partner. The crowd are shouting Carlito, and then Rey says it's going to be Dragon Lee. Nothing against Dragon Lee. They reckon he's going to be the next Rey Mysterio, and I do agree with them. However, I've got a funny feeling that's going to bite Rey in the bottom.
It very much may do, because Dragon Lee being the new guy. I mean, I don't want to say it, but the new guy is normally the one that will take the pinfall in a match, and I really don't want that to be Dragon Lee, just because Dragon Lee he's a really exciting prospect. And I'll be honest with you, this whole LWO Legado del Fantasma storyline hasn't been the greatest, and like the fact that we've had the tag team from LWO go back to NXT and compete there, it just seems to be like this is kind of just like thrown in on a whims. And the fact that we're getting another iteration of Dom versus Rey for WrestleMania is kind of underwhelming. Like I thought we were past all this story, and I could be wrong, and it could be playing into something bigger, like who knows, maybe the breakup of the New Day, of the Judgment Day, and I could be categorically wrong, but I'm expecting this to be a very entertaining match, lucha libre style. But like I said, I think Andrade as well is the other thing for me with this one. Like he's been talked about joining the New Day. Why have I got New Day on the brain all the time? He's been teased about joining the Judgment Day, and there seems to be like a bigger story. This match seems to be a little part of a bigger story that doesn't involve them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see what you mean. This is a placeholder for something that's going to happen further down the line. But to give my full prediction, Dominic Mysterio is pinning his father on Saturday. And the reason he's going to do it is via a backstabber from Carlito, because Carlito is going to be upset. It's not the first time he's turned heel in his previous time. He will turn on Rey because he wasn't picked. He'll be upset at the idea that Dragon Lee was picked instead of him for a big WrestleMania moment. It's not cool. It's not cool at all. Rey hasn't been cool for a while. He's been asking for it for a long time. And then this actually makes Rey and Dom one-on-one at WrestleMania. And they might do that hair versus mask thing or career thing next year, where I think Rey Mysterio might retire. So that's what I think might actually lead, where Dominic gets the mask next year and Rey Mysterio actually ends up retiring from wrestling. That's going to be another one of those little predictions I'm going to make out there nice and early. So remember this, and we can all laugh at me this time of the year.
Do you know what? The thing is, it's not a bad shout. It's actually a really good shout. It's just, to be fair as well, I think it kind of makes sense as well. It makes up the fact that Dominic lost last year to Rey, and it kind of, again, makes them 1-1 for in a sense that of a trilogy of matches at WrestleMania, which makes sense for what you're saying to next year. So I'm going to go against you just for the fact that I want to see Dragon Lee do well. And like, I think that, like I said, with the Judgment Day and them having some sort of story, I think if Dominic and Escobar lose, I think it plays more into their story. So I'm going to say Mysterio and Dragon Lee win.
Interesting. So we'll talk about Judgment Day then very quickly just before we go to the comments, because we teased it for a long time and now we're here. We're 45 minutes into the stream. I have them breaking up after WrestleMania. I think their time as a group is done.
I don't think it will be straight away, but the implode is imminent. I think that there are going to be some key factors this weekend that are going to play into it.
Yes.
One of them is going to be Finn and Priest losing them tag team titles. I think this is why I said that Dominic loses this match, because I think him losing with Santos instead of using, for instance, JD, because JD is a member of the Judgment Day, I think that's another reason why the implode is imminent.
Yes, JD keeps losing. Dominic is not passing messages around. He's bringing people into the club, which he's not meant to be doing. Obviously, Gargano. So I think the breakup is coming, and it's going to be interesting. I think Dominic will be separated from Rhea as well in the draft when it comes very, very soon. So yeah, that's the little like predictions there, and we'll see if any of that stuff actually does materialize in the future. But we'll go into the comments very quickly. Hold on, my connection's playing up a little bit there. There we go. I'm now with you now with the comments. New Rico says Dom and Santos win because we might get help from Carlito and Zelina Vega as well. Vega turning as well. Goodness, Ray would have nobody at that point, would he? Santos and Dom,
I'm fair,
involved.
That plays into Andrade as well, because Andrade said say hello to Zelina for me a couple of weeks back.
There you go. It's all in it. It's all in there. It does make sense when you think about it. Pierre as well saying that it could be their revenge for last year as well from that one there. Eric, we'll get there. Don't worry. Dominic Mysterio and Escobar winning as well there. Get the win back from Rey Mysterio. And Eric also saying Dom leaves to join Legado. So there we go. We've got a lot of popular for the heels there. But NXT is going with the baby faces, Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee to pick up the win.
Just because, like I said, I'm now thinking about it. If I'm going to steal your idea and say that we get hair versus mask next year between Ray and Dom, I think Dom taking 2 L's into a match with his father makes more sense when it comes to the fact that he's going to beat him and retire him.
Interesting. Yeah, it can make sense as well. It can do. I think both make sense in a weird way.
Yeah,
but I do like what you're saying. Well, I'll tell you what. We're speaking of family feuds. Let's do another one. Let's talk about Uso versus Uso. Main event, Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Yeet or no yeet? That's the first question for you, NXT Steve.
I mean, it's kind of been no yeet most of the time, but for me, I'm going to say yeet. I think that main event Jey needs this win. I think he's on the precipice of being a single star now, and I think he needs this win over his brother to just cement himself as a single superstar and to go on to do solo things like winning IC titles, United States titles, whatever. Like, he's not there with it in terms of a main like a world title, but do you know what I mean? I think he's on the verge of doing something special. It's a shame that obviously the Bloodline story is also playing into Mania and the other matches and stuff, because I would like to have seen, I suppose they can do it again next year or something, but at some point we'll get a conclusion where these two reunite and reform the Usos tag team. But for me, I'm going to say Jey Uso needs the win in this one, just so he can go on to be a solo star.
I like it. I like the theory with the idea that, because Jey Uso has had some opportunities and does lose some of those big matches. But obviously, when you look at the build with these two, a lot of those losses have come at the expense because of Jimmy Uso. No yeet, if you will. Yeah. Obviously, when you look back to SummerSlam, the Tribal Combat, you look when they were Jey was tag team champions with Cody. Jimmy was the one that cost them. Then we saw as well with the IC title, Jey was going to get the job done, but of course, Jimmy was there again. They were 1 and 2 in the Royal Rumble, but unfortunately, they didn't do too much more apart from have the big stare down at the start of the match. So it was a bit of a letdown on that particular show. However, I'm looking forward to this match. I think it could be quite fun, but I look back to WrestleMania's past, and it's the third time we've had brother versus brother at WrestleMania. We go back to WrestleMania 10. It was Brett versus Owen. Owen Hart won that match, who, let's be fair, I think many would have predicted Brett being the bigger star at the time. At WrestleMania 25, it was Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy. The biggest star of the time was seen as Jeff Hardy. Matt Hardy won the match. We're going to have Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. I'm predicting Jimmy Uso wins because I think he needs it more. And the reason I think he needs it more is because a big win at WrestleMania for him will just give a bit of momentum to a lot of the losses he's had. And I think these two will do it one more time, whether it's Tribal Combat, Bloodline Rules, however they want to do it. Rikishi is a special guest referee, whatever they want to do. They'll do it one more time, possibly in Paris. And I think Jey Uso will get the win there. So I think also it plays into storyline narrative of where I'm going to go with the bloodline throughout this show. So this is why I'm going for a Jimmy Uso win. And of course, he's not going to do this clean. Probably Solo Sikoa is probably going to be the reason why.
Probably.
Let's go into the comments and see what you've all got to say. I like it. Team Yeet, says Nuben Cohen. I like the Team Yeet for the win. Team Jey Uso, I'm Team Yeet. Pierre says it's the Jimmy and Jey Uso dream match to have against each other. They've wanted this as well, so it's great to see that they are getting it. See, this is my prediction: is Jey Uso wins here. Jimmy Uso beating Jey would bring Jimmy Uso up a bit. It would, and I think that's what he needs. That I think he does need that. He's losing too many matches. But obviously, yeah, they did this with Matt versus Jeff. They did, and they also did it with Owen versus Brett as well at WrestleMania 10. If it's been botched fireworks, I was so excited, and it hasn't exploded. That's kind of a little bit there, but we'll have to see how it's going to play out when it comes to it. But Scott Retro Wrestling also is a no yeet. And of course, yes, Pierre, if you didn't know, Rikishi is Jimmy and Jay's father. Absolutely, we did know indeed, which is why hopefully he will get involved as special guest referee for
to be there this weekend as well.
Is he? Or maybe he will actually be an appearance at WrestleMania. That would be fun to see as well. If you're all enjoying the video, we're about to go to night one's main event, so please hit the like button. Let us know that you're enjoying the video. It does help the algorithms on YouTube as well and helps more people check out these predictions and get involved with predictions along with us. But in the meantime, we will move on then to what will be the night one main events. Oh, yes, it's going to be the biggest tag match in WrestleMania history. We've got the final boss, The Rock, and teaming along with his cousin Roman Reigns, of course, the undisputed WWE champion, going against Cody Rhodes, who's looking to finish the story, and Seth Freakin Rollins, the world heavyweight champion, who, let's be fair, wanted Cody at a match at WrestleMania. Didn't, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but in the end would settle to be a tag team partner. Now, to be fair, a lot of this build has been Cody Rhodes and The Rock, based around the fact that, of course, the rumor was the match was supposed to be Rock versus Roman. Then, of course, the Cody fans got involved. Yes, fan backlash will like it, or Cody crybabies if The Rock has his way, and Pat McAfee's on commentary. And obviously, WWE have swerved. They've changed those plans. And it looks like as well, we've swerved and gone to the press conference to get this tag team match as a night one main event. To be honest, I'm not complaining because I do think we're going to get Roman versus The Rock further down the line. Stay tuned. We may talk about that more later. However, this match here represents one or the other. It's going to represent either a clean match for night two for Cody Rhodes against Roman Reigns, or it's going to be Bloodline Rules, which means pretty much anything goes and all the Bloodline can get involved. And The Rock has promised that there will be some attacks on Cody Rhodes via him and, of course, the rest of the Bloodline. But, of course, we cannot go into predictions without talking about that segment on Monday Night Raw a couple of weeks ago where Cody was in ring. The Rock came out and said absolutely nothing in Chicago, but whispered in Cody's ear. We didn't know till later in the show what it was. It was, I'm going to make you bleed. And Cody said that wasn't possible to happen. Didn't tell us what, but he said it wouldn't be possible. But by the end of the show, he was bleeding, and not only was he bleeding through being out in the pouring rain as well, The Rock used the belt, one of those Cody belts, and was whipping him, which said Mama Rhodes, covered it in Cody's blood as promised, and now all that's missing is Mama Rhodes' tears. Absolutely genius. Was one of the best endings to Raw in what felt like probably about 20 years. And yeah, personally for me, I'm loving everything about this. I think this has been a real fun time, this tag team match to build here.
It almost feels like we're getting the wrong matches. I was gutted we didn't get Rock versus Seth on Raw Monday night. But you're right. It feels like the match should be Cody versus Rock, the way that it's been built. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get that at maybe a SummerSlam at some point in the next year. I would actually like to see it. I'd also like to see Rock versus Seth as well at some point. I think they're matches that you've teased now for God knows how many weeks that they kind of need to happen. In terms of the storyline, we've got the best outcome that we could have asked for. For the fact that we were going to get Rock versus Roman and we were going to get Seth versus Cody, this for me has worked out a hell of a lot better, and I am much more interested. when they initially was going to go down this route and Cody turned it all down and was like, The Rock comes out, stands there as a face-off with Roman, and the whole crowd were like, no, boo, we don't want this. And I genuinely just thought this was just a class bit of booking because we were going to get Roman versus Cody. We were going to get Rock versus whatever. But it turns out, no, they just generally were going to go with Roman versus The Rock. So, like I said, it's worked out for the best, and we've got arguably the biggest main event in WrestleMania history and in forms of this tag team match. And then we're going to get the biggest one on night 2 with Cody and Roman. I can't really add much more to what you said to it, really. It's been so good. I mean, don't get me wrong, The Rock, I think, has lost a step or two when it comes to promos. He's not as fluent and he's making a lot more errors than what he used to 20 years ago. But that's cool. I get it. The guy's like 50, 60 years old. I'm expecting him not to be like the same cat that he was 20 years ago and have the same grace and poise and whatever. But it just means he's more grizzled and more honest. And like you said, when we got that finish to the Chicago show the other week where he's got Cody bleeding and he pours that blood all over that white belt, it was just great, man. And it really did feel very attitude era. And like, I know there's been a lot of stick as well with The Rock dropping F-bombs on TV and S-bombs and whatever else. And it's like, this is some of the best entertaining stuff they've done in a long time. And the fact that people are getting pissy about it, excuse my French, I think is great. Like, it's something that just puts more eyes on the product and draws more people in because they want to see why people are losing their, do you know what I mean? Losing their nut over this stuff. And the fact that The Rock's turning around and going, wrestling is cool again. It's so cheesy, but it's so good as well. Like the fact that he says it and he turns around and goes, I've made wrestling cool again. No one says cool anymore, dude. Let's get over that fact. And the fact he's using a 25, 30-year-old phrase as well is great. Like, this is some of the best work The Rock's ever done.
Do you know what what you shouldn't say if wrestling's cool again? That wrestling is cool again. You don't need to say it if it
Exactly.
is. You don't need to be spinning it out every 5 seconds. But I get the point. He's trying to take the credit for himself, and he's the final boss. Yeah. Like you say, he's effing and jeffing at every opportunity. And it's working for some, not for others. But obviously, we're of an age group and probably of a generation that it doesn't really matter either way. Yeah, we can appreciate it, whatever the case. But it's been a fun time. But I think it comes to the point sort of I like this comment, by the way, from Pierre. It says the Visionary and the American Nightmare versus the final boss and the Tribal Chief. So how is it going to play out then? What's going to be the result? Is Cody getting a fair crack on night 2, or are we getting Bloodline rules? For me, I think it's clear it's only going one way.
Yeah, for me, it's the same as me. It's only going one way. But I think the worst part is depending on the result of this match, depends on the result of the match of night 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with The Rock and Roman winning, because you can't have The Rock lose at WrestleMania. Plus, it also plays into Seth Rollins and all that other stuff. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with those two winning. And there's no way we're not going to get a Bloodline rules match in the main event. It gives them excuse to go absolutely bat crazy and do whatever they want on night 2. But I think it's a very, like I said, if I'd have said Cody and Seth wins, I think we're getting a different result on night 2. But we're again at that eternal dilemma when it comes to a Roman Reigns championship match where we have to sit there and go, I'm going to pick the challenger because it's time Roman lost it, and we always get our hearts broken, and Roman always bloody retains. But, you know, like I said, I'm going to go with Rock and Roman winning.
It has to be Bloodline rules. It has to be. You've teased the idea of weapons and all the rest of it. If it don't get weapons in the match now, it's going to feel like a letdown. And we can see that Seth has been behind there. Jay's been behind Cody's back as well. So it's not necessarily the fact that it's just the Bloodline versus Cody. You know, we might get Cody Avengers. We'll see as we go along. But at the same time, here, I do think, Rock and Roman makes the most sense. Cody, regardless of if he finishes the story or not, it's all about the adversity for him. So for him to actually go into night 2 and go, I have it even, that's not going to work. You need the story to be like, Cody's hurt. Cody's been beaten down. His mum's crying in the front row, for example, and has been handed this belt from The Rock and stuff. And it's like, how's Cody even going to be able to get himself together for night 2? Then have to go through Bloodline rules.
FPOS tape. the whole lot.
Exactly. Battered ribs or an injured knee or whatever. He needs something like that, so it just adds more fuel to the fire. So for me, it's one way only with this one. It would be silly to go the other way. But Scott Retro says that Cody has said his mum will be at WrestleMania, so there we are. Definitely we're playing into that.
Front row.
Yeah, she should be. She probably will be as well. Eric here says, Bloodline win. I need to see Solo sing that national anthem.
That's a good shout.
Pin that comment. Someone pin that comment for me. PS says the biggest tag team match in wrestling history. It's certainly been hyped as that. Absolutely, indeed. There. And everyone says that The Rock is stealing Roman's spotlights too much. Let me explain something to you. The Rock stole the spotlights of everyone alongside him because The Rock is too much charismatic. He doesn't do that on purpose. I've got something to say about that, but it'll be towards the end of the video. It's starting to be where I'm going to start teasing you to actually be tuned into the finish of this video because we need to go through night 2. But see if we got a couple of other comments just relating to this one. Imagine if they did a dusty finish where it appears Cody Rhodes wins the championship, but then it gets revealed that he won by DQ. That just sounds beautiful. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that, man.
So yeah, absolutely. And CD, we know to clarify later on from your comments earlier on that you don't think Seth is turning heel. And just to say very quickly, I agree with this 100% about who takes the pinfall in this match. Absolutely. Cody should be the one to take the pinfall, and The Rock should be the one to pin him. Absolutely. It makes the most sense of everything because Roman pinning Cody, yes, can you do it 2 nights in a row? But it's very cliche. Rock and Cody's been the story here, so they should be the ones to conclude this. So, Scott, I'm glad you put that in the comments, my friend, and glad that we got to mention it as well. Completely on the money.
That should be the precipice for a SummerSlam match between them two.
Absolutely, if a big if it goes that direction. Let's move on then to WrestleMania Sunday. So we've all had a break. We've all had a bit of a chill. We've had a few hours, and then we come back and we get some more wrestling action. We've got another 6 matches to go through. So we're going to start off by doing that. We're going to match number 1 then on night 2 for us, which is going to be for the WWE Women's Championship. We're going to talk about Io Sky versus Bayley. You could argue that this storyline has been going on for a full calendar year. Bear with me. When you look at this, Bayley was not getting the job done last year with Damage Control, obviously to the point that Io Sky wanted opportunities. She won the matches with the likes against Bianca Belair. She got those opportunities at a Backlash in Puerto Rico, but Io would go on then and take the opportunities because she'd win Money in the Bank. She'd then win the championship at SummerSlam. Bayley was by her side and was actually rooting for her all along. But deep down, Io and Dakota, this really was just a case of get them to the next level and push Bayley aside when she's not needed anymore. It became much clearer when Asuka was brought into the group along with Kairi Sane as well, the Kabuki Warriors. Kairi had problems with Bayley. She left WWE under Bayley taking her out. So there was always those question marks. They went into War Games to come out the other side. They were still together. But it was only when Bayley won the Royal Rumble and she was intimidated and put off Rhea Ripley, Io and Co got rid of Bayley, and they sort of said, we're going to get rid of her now on this first SmackDown. Felt a bit rushed for me. They could have played out a little bit longer, in my personal opinion. However, the storyline to that point, really, really enjoyed it. The storyline since, it's been all right. It's been a bit lukewarm. Dakota Kai has been teasing being both sides, but it's now shown that she's the true voice of Damage Control moving forward. But obviously, the big match here is Io versus Bayley for this championship. Have you enjoyed the build with this one? Do you think that it's actually got enough attention for a Royal Rumble winner going into this match at WrestleMania? And what's your prediction?
I'm the same as you. That the turn was way too quick after the Rumble win. This should have been something that maybe pushed onto Elimination Chamber or something else. Because like for me, since they've done that, it's kind of just been the same thing every week, where it's been Bayley just trying to get her hands on one or the other of a member of Damage Control, and it's just been the same thing. This is a very old school mentality, like one person against a faction, and the one person has to go through the entire faction before they get to the main person. And I'm still going to enjoy it, and for the pure basis that I've said that Rhea is retaining, I'm going to go with Bayley winning, because I think we're not going to get. I don't think we're going to get both Becky and Bayley winning. I think we're going to get one or the other. So for me, I'm going to go with Bayley winning. I think Bayley actually needs it more. My only issue is then what do you do with Damage Control afterwards? Because you've got, obviously they're still the women's tag team champions, but you've now got Io and Dakota who are doing nothing Obviously, Io's probably going to get a rematch at Backlash if the title changes hands. But what do you do with them going forward from that point onwards? And that's my only worry: is what do they do after Mania with Damage Control?
So here's me filling in the gaps of what I'm going to guess and what I'm going to predict. Because I think the same as you. I think Bayley's winning the championship here for Io Sky. I think, like you said, a rematch at Backlash makes the most sense. And I think at that show, Bayley will retain through Dakota screwing up. And I think that then leads to the triple threat match at the following show, whether that be Clash at the Castle, whether there's a show in between. I'm not quite sure of the scheduling of the pay-per-views at this particular moment, but that I think is how it will play out. And I think from that point afterwards, we could start seeing Damage Control just being Io, Oscar, and Kyrie. But it'd be interesting to see how it will all go down. But I do think we will get the triple threat match between the original Damage Control members. I think Dakota is the mouthpiece for now, but I don't think it's going to be forever. But I think Bayley here is going to get the job done on Sunday, and I think she's going to get the moment at WrestleMania. Hopefully, a lot of celebration for her as well, because she's done a lot of work and putting a lot of people over. And you wouldn't put up past trying to put Io Sky over on the biggest stage of them all either. But I just think Bayley deserves this moment. I'm not sure she would get this opportunity to do this again. So for me, I think Bayley would be the right winner, not just the winner that I want. I'm going to predict.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the only thing maybe you could possibly do at a later date with Damage Control is if it goes to being just Kairi, Asuka, and Io, is at some point maybe putting a title between the three of them and them having to triple threat it or something. Do you know what I mean? But then, like I said, the only other thing I could think is possibly going freebirding with the tag team titles, and between the three of them, they defend the tag team titles. It's just something to do, because I love the idea of the freebird rule where you can just have two of the three people wrestle at any time. I think it's a great, and it also keeps matches fresh for whenever they're on TV. It's just, like I said, with Io being champion, like I said, if the titles change hands, it goes on to Backlash. I then now you saying that, I now worry for Dakota, because it's like Dakota has always kind of, like, from what since she's been with WWE, her best work has been as someone's stooge, someone's manager. Do you know what I mean? Someone's, like, when she was with Raquel in NXT, she was doing the best stuff. So that's the only thing I worry about, is what would you do with Raquel afterwards as well. They still need a women's mid-card title, because there's too many women and not enough titles for them.
Potentially. There is always the fact, though, that Io could just be drafted to Raw, and you could have Io versus Rhea.
Yeah, true. Very true. See Rhea fold her over like Zelina Vega in about 30 seconds.
Great match, though. I think it'll be an awesome match. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it will go down. Let's see what the comments have got to say. But I'm sure they've got quite a few here. Let's just quickly go through and see. Pierre was saying that Bayley's a goddess to him there. Eric here says maybe Bayley wins and Liv moves to SmackDown, and then we can take it from and down the line. That wouldn't be a bad match, to be fair. We'll be quite interested seeing that. Noob says the build has been very underwhelming. Certainly, I think since the breakup, I think it could have been better. It's not one of the more high-profile stories going into Mania, which is a shame. Pierre, of course, saying Dakota is the leader of Damage Control at this moment. And Bayley, as a babyface champion in the UK, just feels right. Absolutely.
100%.
You did indeed there. Scott just saying Rhea versus Becky was the very first match that we did. So at the end of this, it's the very first match. So you've got no problems to finding it to go and see it after this. Noob says, I say, split them up, have Kyrie Sane shine as a single star, have Oscar get a redemption story, and that can lead to a WrestleMania moment next year. Certainly could be indeed there. And Scott Sherry would go with Rhea Ripley as well. We've got the Bayley song going on the chat as well. Not going to argue with that.
Hey, baby.
Ooh.
I wanna know. Sorry.
Right. We better stop before we get copyrighted. But
football fugging me.
You never know. It's not a bad thing. CD saying as well that Bayley would have that here, and I think that Bayley should beat Bianca Belair for the Royal Women's Championship. So it's long overdue. There you go, indeed. And let's move on. In the meantime, we're going to move on to LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Now, forgive me for saying that I think this feud started in October, because to some, they may go, well, hang on, this started in January. Here's my reasoning why. AJ Styles was supposed to be in a tag team match versus the Bloodline. Of course, he got injured. He got taken out by Jimmy Uso, No Yeet, and Solo Sikoa. And John Cena had no tag team partner going into what I believe was Fastlane, if I'm not mistaken. LA Knight stepped in. He made sure that he took the opportunity. Not only did he take the opportunity at Fastlane, he then got the championship match at Crown Jewel. When AJ Styles returned, as far as he was concerned, those were his matches, and it was almost the case of like the LA just jumped into his spot and thinking he'd just take these opportunities away from AJ. AJ forgetting that the boy is injured and wasn't going to be there anyway. Doesn't matter, I guess. But these two have kind of then stopped each other from, winning at the Royal Rumble and, of course, not getting Elimination Chamber to get to actually matches at WrestleMania. AJ actually flying halfway across the world to stop LA Knight winning in the chamber. So we've had the point that LA Knight's actually gone to AJ Styles' home because AJ wasn't confronting him, which of course led to a fun arrest as well at the time. These two have now made the WrestleMania match official. I think actually, to be fair, it's not been too bad of a build. I do feel it's one of them that's felt a bit lackluster in places, but when you talk about it, it has been some fun moments as well. The only thing for me is that I'm liking AJ Styles rumored to be having a new theme song at WrestleMania, and the reasoning for it is that the current one does not fit his character. I'm struggling to see what his current character is, so I'm looking forward to what this new music's going to be.
I've been seeing it on TikTok all for the last 2 weeks. People saying he should bring back his old TNA one.
Oh,
and I'll be well up for that. Yeah, you're right. He does, like I said, he's very club of ammunition, if you know what I mean. Like his persona now, he's like very wears black jeans and wears black leather, and do you know what I mean? It's a very dark persona now for AJ Styles. So yeah, he needs. So like I said, I'd be all up for it. I'm the same as you. I've not been very blown away with the build for it. It's kind of felt very bit here, bit there. I love a home invasion thing though. The whole police body camera footage. I do great stuff. Like just well produced, entertaining stuff. It's been really good. It's just like I said, it's just been very lackluster. And we've been saying probably for the last 6 months now that we thought LA Knight was going to be the one to take that US title off of Logan Paul, and the fact that we've got two TNA guys here in a match at WrestleMania. They obviously have history going back even before WWE, so this will be a killer match. In terms of prediction, though, I think AJ needs to win more because he's taken a lot of L's, and I think if they want to rebrand him as this new club leader type person, new music sort of thing, I think he needs to pick up the win over LA Knight. LA Knight's the kind of guy that can take losses and he'll be fine. He'll just come back out next week and be calling people dummy, yeah, and he'll be all right with it. So for me, I'm going to say AJ Styles.
Do you know what? You're not the first person to say that to me. Obviously, I was quite fortunate to be on WrestleMania UK's podcast this past week. We were talking WrestleMania predictions, and he said the same thing. AJ needs the win, and he feels AJ would win the match. So I kind of see like a lot of logic into AJ being the win here. And to be honest, this is the sort of match at WrestleMania where I really feel this one could go either way because it feels a bit of a nothing feud, and it doesn't really matter in a way who wins, who doesn't. I can see the point of view that AJ needs the win more because he's taken a lot of losses, but I look at AJ as the guy that's been in the company for 8 years at this point. LA Knight's not much younger, but he feels still like that new kid on the block. And I think if he loses too many matches, he becomes like Dolph Ziggler. So I think for me, LA Knight has got an opportunity to have that sort of big singles win at a WrestleMania. And I think that LA Knight should take it. I think he should continue that momentum to hopefully get a mid-card title in 2024. So I'm going to go for LA Knight to actually pick up the win. Although if AJ is getting new theme music, it's probably not the best start to have it, is it? But yeah, AJ just looks like he's just still been competing in the Boneyard match. That's pretty much where AJ's looked in the most recent return.
Yeah, I mean, especially with obviously Gallows and Anderson basically going down to NXT now, and they're going to be part of that brand. He needs something. I mean, I presume this is probably going to be his last run in professional wrestling. So if you want to give him a shot at someone being a world, like I'd like to see him do another world championship run at some point, whether it be Universal, whether it be world champion. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to see that again before he retires. Yeah, like you just pretty much summed it there. If he's going to get repackaged, he probably does need to win more than LA Knight does. Like I said, LA Knight can bounce back. He's the kind of guy that, do you know what I mean? He'll be favorite going into Money in the Bank, for example, because I imagine he'll be another participant in it. So he's not. I don't think he's really going to be too affected coming out of this. Whereas I think if AJ loses, he's got more to lose off of the loss.
There we go. We've got one vote then for AJ Styles, one vote for LA Knight. Yeah. So let's see what our chat has got to say in the meantime with this one. Quite a few comments come flying in, which is quite fun to see. Scott Retro Wrestling here says this match could have been the street fight after the home invasion angle. Certainly could have been, but we got a Philly street fight, and that's coming up as our penultimate match we'll have here. But Pierre saying that LA Knight can have the biggest win of his career so far. CD kind of disappointed we're not going to get LA Knight versus Logan Paul for the United States Championship. I kind of was there as well, to be honest. I really felt that was the right match to go, but we are where we are with it, and I think that they've been building this match now for a good number of months, so I'm okay with it, to be honest. At this point, they can always do it another day. PS says WrestleMania 40, LA Knight is going to have a WrestleMania moment with everybody saying LA Knights, yeah. And whose game is it? Of course, coming in there as well. So a lot of chance there for LA Knight. And why does LA have to go through a lot of adversity before he touches any type of gold, lol? I see what you're saying, CD, with that one. For me, I think he should get the winner at WrestleMania. But he will get his opportunity, I think, at some point to do that and hold gold at some point in WWE. We just have to wait for the right moment to come. Clearly, they chose WrestleMania. It was not the destination. But we do have a United States Championship match, so let's dive straight into it. Logan Paul will be defending the championship against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Now, of course, we've had the feud going off Kevin Owens since the Royal Rumble. Of course, KO was the one that won a tournament to get that position. Of course, then lost that match via DQ, via Knuckle Dusters. And Randy Orton pretty much was summed up in the Elimination Chamber because Randy eliminated Logan, if not mistaken. Then Logan cost Randy with brass knuckles as well. So that's led to now pretty much what is a triple threat match. And it's kind of been 2 against 1 to a certain degree throughout the whole process of this, really. But we do have KO having Randy Orton on the KO show this upcoming week on SmackDown, WrestleMania SmackDown. I imagine we'll start getting some tension between those two at that point because, well, one of them has to walk away United States champion. They can't both do it. And we did also see Randy Orton almost RKO KO last week on SmackDown after that tag team match with Pretty Deadly. So what's your thoughts with this triple threat match? You said you thought this one's got potential to be an absolute banger.
It has. And spoiler alert, I'm going to say Logan Paul wins. I think that's going to be the biggest shock. I think that the reason why we haven't got LA Knight versus Logan Paul is that is destined for another pay-per-view at a later date where LA Knight picks up that United States Championship. And I think here, like you said a minute ago, it's been a lot of 2-on-1, and it's kind of been Logan with his back to the wall, and giving him a win over KO and Randy is a massive thing for him, especially as champion. But also, this also allows Randy and KO to have a story after Mania. Like these two now have a story to go against each other, leading up to Clash at the Castle or Bash in Berlin or Rage in the Cage or Slam in the Van, whatever pay-per-view they decide to do. Do you know what I mean? SummerSlam, whatever. So I have thoroughly enjoyed it, but like I said, I think with LA Knight not being in this title match, it just cements it for me that Logan Paul will retain, and it's gonna be down to some shenanigans with the brass knuckles, and someone's gonna get walloped, and someone's gonna get Randy's probably gonna RKO Kevin, and Kevin's probably going to get smacked in the mouth with a pair of brass knucks, and Logan's going to pick up the win or whatever. And do you know what I mean? It's all going to come up flowery and shiny and roses and stuff for Logan Paul. And oh man, my brain is in such a kerfuffle today. It's so many names wrong, but yeah, I just think it's the way it's going to go, man. Plus, obviously, I think this is the first pay-per-view where Prime is going to be the mat sponsor for WWE. It kind of also fits into that as well.
Yeah, I forgot that's a big part of the ring. Hopefully, we're going to forget it's there after match 3. But yeah,
I don't mind it. To be fair, I don't mind it.
Just wish it was a bit more. How can I put it? More friendly on the eyes. That's kind of
just the logo. I don't need the bottle. Do you know what I mean? Just the Prime logo would have been fine.
Maybe just a different flavor would have been good. A bit more of a discreet flavor, just so it just blends nicer into the canvas. Just the bottom shape.
It's red, white, and blue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's the red that's catching my eye too much. I need like just black and white. Just keep it simple for me. But anyway, I think looking at this, I was on the WrestleMania show as I mentioned, and I said I think KO is taking the pinfall. I stand by that. I think Randy Orton and Logan Paul will have a singles match at some point further down the line. Potentially SummerSlam. It's going to be in Cleveland. Obviously, Logan Paul it seems to be heavily promoted for this Cleveland SummerSlam, this stadium show. So that's going to be interesting to see how he's going to fit in. Maybe he's going for a world title. But I think Logan Paul and Randy Orton will not be finished here. I think they'll have a singles match somewhere down the line. But I think Logan Paul is going to take one epic RKO on that Prime logo. I think it's going to be one of the best RKOs of all time. However, I said Randy was going to win on Mex's show. I'm changing. I'm going to say Logan Paul. I feel the same as you. I feel that just looking at this, Logan, it looks like everything is stacked against him. So he's going to find a way to get out of it. He's going to be the one that's going to be out of it from an RKO, but something's going to happen that's going to lead to Randy Orton and KO knocked out, for example, if it's brass knuckles, whatever the reason, or just an RKO, Randy thrown out of the ring and Paul
running distraction again.
Yeah, something's going to happen that's just going to lead Logan Paul to escape this show. And Logan Paul, I think, in WrestleMania's, I think he has won at WrestleMania. He did win at the first WrestleMania.
He's got a tag team match with The Miz that he won.
Yes, but he did lose against Seth, didn't he, last year? So I think this year, I think he's going to pick up the win. And I don't know how I feel about saying that, but I've said it. So there we go. Logan Paul to win there.
Plus, if you can see it, Kevin Owens' t-shirt this year smacks, man. It's so good.
They always look amazing every year. They really do.
I was tempted to buy it, but I was like, I can't buy a t-shirt with Logan Paul's face on it, man.
Absolutely. Well, I can say we've not got many Prime drinkers in the house anyway. Noob and Co and Pierre not doing it. Drink water. I'm a water drinker as well, but not tonight. Not tonight. I've got myself a bit of the old flavour tonight as well. So bit of cider.
I've tried all the flavours because my kids collect it. Like my kids have got I don't like them having the drinks, but apparently the trend is to collect all the bottles like they're going out of fashion. So they get one of each, and I've tried them all, and they're too sugary for me. Well, that just might be me getting old.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I've tried one, and I was like, no, I didn't like it. So yeah, the aftertaste just not for me. But yes, Sami and KO could be mid-card champions at the same time. I did think they'd have a moment, but I just don't see it anymore, unfortunately. And KO does have that shirt every single year.
Pierre from last year, I never got it.
I think the brass knuckles to Logan Paul is like what the sledgehammer is to Triple H or the baseball bat to Sting. I think it's a good shout there, and I think it's going to be the case here. But KO, of course, was United States champion. He hasn't had gold since 2017, so it would be cool for KO to win the championship. Would not be against it, but sadly, we've got him here taking the pinfall, which is pretty much a darn shame, really. But we'll move on in the meantime, and we're going to talk about a Philadelphia street fight. That's right, we've got the Pride, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins going. It's the Final Testament, Karrion Kross and AOP, of course, Akam and Rezar. This one's been going since January. Of course, there was the big attack when there was the reveal of Kross and AOP together. Of course, we had Scarlett and we had Paul Ellering as well, part of this. So it's been sort of building, been teasing singles matches, tag team matches, 6-man tag team matches. There's always been a bit of a problem and a bit of a matches being thrown out and not quite working together. So hey, I kind of got WrestleMania 13 vibes going on here with Ahmed Johnson and OD versus the Nation of Domination. We've got a good old, instead of a Chicago street fight, we got a Philadelphia street fight. For me, this one's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get your toys involved there. We're going to get your tables, your chairs, your kendo sticks, and we're going to have a good old time. And big men smacking each other around here. It's going to be a fun one. To give it quick and answer it, I think Bobby and the Profits are picking up the dub.
Yeah, that's for me. I've gone the same. I think that they've taken so many L's in the last couple of weeks, especially with, for instance, the Profits not getting into the tag team ladder match, and Bobby just been getting handed his ass by Karrion every week. So for me, it makes more sense. It's again another two teams though that I worry about what you do with after Mania, because, like I said, they've not exactly been the most prominent, and it's kind of like, what do you do with Karrion Kross to try and rebuild him in the eyes of WWE fans, because it went so badly the first time that I think he's really soured with a lot of people, and I don't know, they have to try and do something. What that is, I do not know, but yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm going Lashley and Profits for me.
I just feel like it just feels like they're going to win on this one, and we'll see where it leads to from there. But Karrion has always said that he's always made people change afterwards. We'll see if there's any difference with the Profits and Bobby Lashley after this. But for me, PS says this is the final chance for Karrion Kross and AOP to have a chance to have a great career by winning this match. That's maybe the prediction there for Pierre, that the Final Testament will win. and also congratulations to them having their first WrestleMania match. Absolutely, it's great to see Cross and AOP have made the WrestleMania card.
I think with those guys, they really need to go Ministry of Darkness with them and start doing some weird supernatural stuff just to make them like interesting. Because since Cross has been back, he had a great return and interrupted Drew McIntyre, and he just went flat and disappeared afterwards. So they need to do something, like, I think whether they need to not even a rebrand, but they're presented as this, let's say, final testament, and it's supposed to be all dark and brooding. They have the music and the smoke machines, and just need to do something with him, man. Just make him more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think it would be a good way for them to go down like this, to be perfectly honest. As City also going with Bobby Lashley on the street profits. Boring. But maybe that will change if they go down NXT's route here. But we're going to move on. We've got 2 matches to go. So let's see how we get through them. We've got the World Heavyweight Championship match called Seth Freakin Rollins against Drew McIntyre. Of course, we have CM Punk on commentary. So that should be a fun time indeed. And to be honest, we could go many different directions with this one. I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. So, Drew McIntyre first had his opportunity at, I believe, Crown Jewel. Had a little bit of sympathy for Seth, who had a bad back at the time. Seth managed to retain. Drew then said he would get his opportunity a second time. He would not be so remorseful at day one. Of course, I think it was Damian Priest teasing the cash-in, which stopped him from winning that match, so he felt screwed again. He said had to go through the Royal Rumble. We had a few issues with CM Punk, hasn't everybody? Seth as well seems to have issues since Punk returned. And then obviously Drew won Elimination Chamber because Punk was out, and Drew managed to do the angle with Punk, which of course furthered his injury, I guess. And Drew took his spot in the chamber and won the chamber. And here we are. We've got Seth versus Drew one more time at WrestleMania. Drew has been on a roll of a lifetime. I do think his character work has been absolutely immense. The CM Punk t-shirt of the WrestleMania main event, and obviously doing the funeral thing this past week on Raw as well, was very well done. The fact he's criticised for Seth for not concentrating enough on his own match at WrestleMania, yet he's concentrating on CM Punk at every turn and opportunity. To the point he's been caught out with a super kick from Seth as well. I've liked all the ingredients with this one, and without talking, it's easy to talk about things that also can happen in this match through people that are not involved. Let's just stick with Seth, Drew, and CM Punk for the minute. How heavily involved is CM Punk going to be involved at commentary?
Do you know what? I'm so focused on another angle that I'd completely forgotten CM Punk was going to be ringside. And I don't think he's going to be as heavily involved as what a lot of people expect. I don't know, maybe so. Like, as a wild shot, maybe he has to throw on the ref t-shirt and count the pinfall, something stupid like that. But with the injury, I would... Well, do you know what I mean? I'm trying to, because he's obviously got a busted arm, and he made the point that he could actually ref a match and do a pinfall because he has another good working arm, which was a great moment in itself. Sure, there's probably going to be some sort of altercation at ringside involving Seth and Drew because they both have issues with him. So I don't know. So I think someone like Drew, for instance, is going to take a cheap pop at him and chin him, and I think like Punk will retaliate and he'll end up doing something to Seth instead. And I don't know. The thing is, I'd say my brain was somewhere else. I'm like, I already have something else in mind. So thinking about Punk is just so new that I'm like, oh my God, I don't actually know what you do with CM Punk.
Well, let's go then where your head wants to go. Where do you see this going? Because I think we both know where it's going.
Priest is cashing in.
I like it. I feel the same is happening in the show.
After watching, must have been, I think it was Raw, the segment where Priest turns around and goes, "This Mania is going to be big for all of us."
Yeah.
And I think that if you have Dom lose, they lose the tag team titles. Priest has to walk out with that world title. And the reason why I say it as well is they've announced that Clash of the Castle is going to be in Scotland. And I think you're going to get Seth taking on Priest in a rematch at the next pay-per-view, which Drew is going to end up screwing up or even getting himself involved in, and it's going to end up leading to a triple threat at Clash where McIntyre is going to win that title in his home country, it makes all the sense in the world. They will pull the trigger this time. They will not disappoint us like they did 2 years ago in Wales. That has to be the plan. Drew is not winning that title until Clash at the Castle.
I agree. I agree with about 95% of what you've just said. So my initial thoughts was that Drew might win the title and have it taken away from him. So he has this moment, it's taken away from him at WrestleMania like 4 years ago. That was my initial thought. But I'm starting to think, since Clash has been announced, that I think it does make more sense for the heist of the century, if it's going to happen a second time, to happen on the person who did it the first time. So I think Punk being ringside, I agree with the idea that Punk having the referee spot would be awesome. Not something I predicted before you said it, but now I hear it. I think it would be a great cameo moment for the match. Punk can always be knocked out of the ring, and it could be his way, or he makes the call because of the fact that Drew gets involved with Punk, and Punk thinks no, and maybe he can still do a kick or something. Do you know what I mean? Just to turn Drew back around to actually get curb stomped by Seth Rollins. I think the match concludes this. I think this match ends. I don't think it becomes a triple threat and then Damian wins. I feel that Seth wins and then is cashed in on by Damian Priest. And I think that, like you say, you can...
No, see, I think Priest cashes in and that, like Seth does, and makes it a triple threat. I can't see Drew losing. That's my issue. I can maybe see Drew winning and then being cashed in. I can't honestly see Seth retaining. I find it impossible to believe that Seth will retain again after everything that guy has been through in the last calendar year with the likes of Shinsuke Nakamura, when Shinsuke was so focused on, like, the Shinsuke alone should have been the right decision to pull the trigger and have him win that title, and they still didn't do it. And I think that if you're almost putting Seth on that pedestal of just Roman Reigns level, where the fact that he could overcome every single bit of adversity, and not to mention that they have to go through that tag team match the night before. There's no way I can see Seth walking out with that title come Sunday night.
I mean, I don't think he's walking out with the title. I think he wins the match.
Well,
and I think Priest is cashing in straight away after. I think that it comes to a point that it could even be that you have a moment with Seth and Punk after the match, because they don't get on either. So it could just be a case that Seth and Punk have just that second, and then Punk gets involved with Seth just for a second, and it's just that vulnerable moment then, because then Priest can get involved, cash in, and then Seth is the vulnerable one that's taken out. Because Seth also has his contract running out in a couple of months. His time as world champion is running out for me, and I think that Priest will be, like you say, the champion. And I do think when it comes to Clash at the Castle, like you say, I think Drew then actually has this moment, wins that title, and then he's ready for when CM Punk returns. Because when CM Punk returns, Punk can win the title from Drew, and then we can start focusing on Seth versus Punk for the title and next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, and then Drew has that run from what I think was June. That is June. Clash is advertised for, or July.
Yes, June 15th.
Right. So then he'll run with it until the Rumble or Elimination Chamber. No, I'd probably say Rumble at the latest. I'd write 2 months, give Punk at least 2 months as champion, or even let Seth win it back or something. But yeah, it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
It does. It'll be interesting how it'll play out really throughout the whole storylines, because it's going to be a fun old time. That's all I can say.
So my prediction is Priest cashes in and wins a triple threat. I don't see Seth or Drew winning that match.
Interesting. I mean, to be fair, I would have agreed with you about 3 weeks ago. Then I felt Drew was winning it and then being screwed out of it seconds afterwards. And now a part of me just thinks that I don't think Punk's going to let Drew win. And I don't know. Like you say, there's reasons here for Drew. But it makes sense in a way, though, for the triple threat, because Drew will then feel screwed again. He wasn't beat again. He's got more reasons to whine the next night. So it's going to be fun, however it's going to play out. But we both agree.
I think
the Clash.
The biggest thing I think is that Drew needs to come out as a bigger heel, because obviously when he goes to Clash, he's going to be the face, and they need to build him up as this major heel, so that when he goes into this match at Clash, whoever the babyface opponent is for him, whether it be a triple threat, whatever, whether it's Seth, whatever, the role reversal in that match alone needs to be massive, and so they need to do something to make Drew an even bigger heel than possible. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a fact that Seth wins the match, and then Drew just absolutely beats him to within an inch of his life, which causes Priest to cash in because he knows Seth has taken damage from the tag match before. Drew's just beat the living hell out of him. Maybe that's the ample opportunity, but they need to do something to elevate McIntyre to an even bigger heel.
Absolutely. Well, he's got whichever way it goes with us, he's got a reason to complain over. He wasn't involved in a pinfall or Punk cost him on his biggest moment when he was going to finally get his moment at WrestleMania. So we'll see how it plays out, but it certainly looks to be fun either way. We've got some fun predictions. See what the chat's got to say. Eric Lowe saying Priest heist of the century, Mr. Heist of the century.
Senior heist of the century.
Senior heist of the century indeed. Eric, I think you're going to get your way. I think we're going to get a new world champion in Damian Priest. Will Drew bring back Broken Dreams for his entrance? I don't think so. He's a heel now. He's a heel. It's a face move to bring that in. So I think that's long gone. Pierre goes on to say that WrestleMania 36, Drew winning the championship from Brock Lesnar without a crowd is not the prophecy, not the chosen one, but WrestleMania 40, the prophecy chosen one is realized. He reckons that Drew will win the championship. Eric says there's no way that Drew is leaving. 100% agree. I felt for a long time Drew's not going anywhere. He's been promoted on all these posters for a long time, even Bash in Berlin. That's in September. There's no way Drew's leaving the company. He's sticking around.
Yeah, I mean the thing is as well is maybe you're right. Maybe Drew does get that. Maybe Drew does win. Maybe he gets that moment with the crowd at WrestleMania, and Priest stashes it away from him. Maybe that's the. But then that's a babyface thing to have Priest cash in, and Drew's going to feel like the baby. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I'm really excited to see what the outcome of that match alone is.
So here's further with Judgment Day storyline. I've been plotting together. Damian Priest wins the world title and becomes a babyface because Balor turns on him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Those two feud for the world title as well. So we have all this stuff going on with Seth and Drew in the background or whatever, and we've even got Priest and Balor that can be doing a feud as well for the world title, because even if it's not immediate afterwards, you can see all the friction with Judgment Day, and it's like the biggest thing for our group. It's the biggest moment for you. It's all about you. You're selfish.
Yeah. It's always been about you.
Exactly. It's always been about Priest. But CD, absolutely, you can imagine Drew would be mad if he won the title and then Priest cashed in. It certainly would be quite fun to see as well. And let's see. Look through here. Do you think Seth Freakin Rollins it will be his last world title reign? No, I don't think so.
No, I'd like to think that he's obviously. I think he's going to have a run with Punk at some point. Maybe that will be for the title. Who knows? Depending on how the story is for Mania next year. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And as we say, Drew, he ain't leaving. We don't think he's going anywhere. So, right, guys and girls, thank you everyone that's watching so far at this point of the video. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. It does help this video. It helps the algorithms on YouTube. And we're going to want as many faces in the house at this point because, well, it's main event time. We're talking about Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Of course, it says the WWE champion under Roman Reigns is above his name as well, against the American Nightmare. Look, this story, if we're going to be honest, pretty much writes itself, really. They had one moment together on SmackDown, which was a bit lackluster, if I'm honest, where, Cody come alone, and then obviously Roman was tricked him afterwards, like, oh, I've got my bloodline, and then obviously Cody was like, well, I brought my backup as well. Yay. That didn't really do a lot for me. But what I would say is that the plan was Roman versus Rock. They went back to this, although it felt like at the Rumble, this was the plan. So it's a bit confusing. It depends what you believe. Do you believe Dirt Sheet A? Do you believe Dirt Sheet B? Or do you believe what you see on your TV screen? For me, at one point, I thought Cody was always going to be the choice at one point because he was having faces off with Roman in October.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you look at this, they built WrestleMania off night one. The story is night one because night two is already set. Cody and Roman, they did all that storytelling last year. There's not much, I suppose, left to share at this particular moment. It's all about, can Cody finish the story? Roman cheated last year. Will he be able to cheat again this year? And we've predicted that it will be Bloodline rules. So that's what we think will happen. So therefore, we think that this one is going to be overbooked chaos. Sorry?
Absolutely. There's an asterisk on the card here that says it's going to be Bloodline rules because that's what we're predicting.
Yes, absolutely. We're assuming it. So if it ends up being one-on-one, I still think it'll be chaos, and I think the referee will take a bump and everyone will get involved. I think it makes no difference either way. So
I think that if you go with the bloodline rules, it allows for even more chaos, and it's like it makes it more plausible and believable, the fact that if there's going to be interference, the ref's not going to be down for 20 minutes while 17 people interfered. You know what I mean?
although that could be fun as well. WrestleMania X7, Triple H Undertaker, the referee was out for 9 solid minutes, and hey, we call it the best mania of all time, didn't we? So clearly it can't always be a bad thing. But at the same time, excuse me, when you look at this here, we look back to the beginning of the story, obviously the Rock and Roman, and obviously everyone looked and did Rock's first promo and stuff, and he said, "You're going to lose at WrestleMania." Everyone thought he was pointing at Roman, and he did the one which ended up being like an L for loser, and everyone said, "Well, the Rock's turning on Roman," and he did say early on in the story, like, you know, I'm gonna take a steel chair and I'm gonna wrap it around your head, Cody, and it could be a moment he could just say, "I'm gonna wrap it around your head, Cody," and actually just wax Roman instead. The whole thing's been a ploy because he knew Cody needed to finish the story. It's all been that thing all along, and then no one's in the way. Rock and Roman can have their match. It's just business. That's what the final boss has been doing, business and business for himself. There is an argument that could be scenario 1. Scenario 2.
I didn't even think of that.
That's scenario 1. We got a couple more. At least
go for it.
Maybe two. We'll see as I start talking. Scenario 2 is the fact that obviously maybe the Rock and Cody, it does seem personal. I mean, he's made Cody bleed. You know, Cody's not going to be happy about it. Mama Rhodes is going to be in the front row with a belt and tears and stuff. So there's going to be bloodline involvement. We could get bloodline involvement here, or with Cody, and Cody could get his Avengers to help. We talked about Seth, we talked about Jade, but if you looked at the beatdown when that sort of blood storyline was going on the parking lot, there was the truck and things like that by accident. Steve Austin and John Cena's faces were on it. Now, if you look back at Rock's WrestleMania past, he's actually main evented 5 WrestleManias previous to this. Take out WrestleMania 2000, which is the Fatal 4-Way, and then you go with the other WrestleManias he's main evented with those 2 stars. 2 with Cena and 2 with Austin. Those have been his main events outside of it. If they come as well as the top guys of the past, they want to help pass the torch and make sure Cody is the top guy of the future. There could be a case that we could really have Avengers Endgame here. This could literally be, we have all the superpowers in one, and it's absolute chaos. We're seeing stunners, we're seeing, you know, all the things going on, attitude adjustments and stuff like that, and then crossroads, and we're getting a 1, 2, 3. Doesn't make any sense. Absolutely not. It's complete nonsense. But do you know what? I think I'd lose my mind because it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. And if we don't get wrestling's about having fun, so let's have fun with it. Scenario 3. Take scenario 2. You do scenario 2, and then everyone folds to the back. And then we then eventually get a finishing match of Cody and Roman for about 5-10 minutes. They actually have a clean finish to what is a chaotic match. Cody wins and finishes the story. Or scenario 4, and this is the last one. We have the scenario, you know where I'm going. We have the scenario where Cody and Roman, or everyone in the Avengers have been, they've gone, they're having their finish, but there's one member of the bloodline that is around that's not been unveiled, and someone comes in like they've done with every other Roman defense in the past. They come in. Tama Tonga is someone that comes to mind. He's not officially part of the bloodline, but he's Haku's son. Haku seems a close buddy of all the bloodline and stuff like that. Could be someone that could be involved. You could look at someone else that's a free agent that is bloodline related. I know Samu's son at the moment is a free agent, but just a big event to bring him in when no one's ever heard of him. And Jacob Fatu's another one. Yeah, no, you know, we're talking mainstream audience. No one's heard of him. Do you know what I mean? So it feels a bit like, okay, but Solo Sikoa came in at Crash at the Castle, which was a big deal at the time, and felt like it was a relative unknown unless you were a mainstream audience. So that's a possibility as well. So I'm giving you 4 different scenarios, and if I'm honest with you, I do think one of this is going to play out. If you were confused before, I'd hate to think where your mind is now. Probably if it was an egg, it's probably scrambled.
It's not even that, dude. It's the fact that we've got to that point again in a prediction show where we're talking about Roman Reigns and this WWE Championship, and it's a case of will he, won't he? And every time we've got here, I've always gone with my heart and said, yep, Cody's going to win, Drew's going to win, Seth's going to win. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be dethroned. And yet, at the back of my mind, it's still there. That Roman is champion, and all they do is bang on about how long he's been champion for. And the fact that he's 200 something days off of beating Hogan's run, and he's 200 something days off of beating, I think, Bob Backlund's run as well. And I'm like, there is still a 3% chance that Roman could retain this title. And it's like, do I sit there and just play it safe and go Roman's retaining? Because in that way, Cody wins, I'm happily surprised. I don't know, man. Like, when it comes to your 4 scenarios, the first one where we talk about Rock actually turning on Roman, because I think that was the point you were trying to get across.
Yes.
My God, didn't even think of that. Like, oh my God. The fact that you can turn around and say, you made me acknowledge you and I'm the biggest star, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds fantastic if it wasn't Cody Rhodes. If Cody Rhodes is going to win this title, I don't want it to be because The Rock turns on Roman. I don't want it to be because someone interferes and beats Roman on behalf of Cody. If Cody's going to win this, he needs to win this as himself. So, I'm going to take option, I think it was three you said, where the pure chaos happens and everyone spills out the back and we're left with Roman and Cody. Because this match needs a clean finish, because I can't even remember the last time Roman lost a match clean. Because it's been that long. Probably Baron Corbin was probably the last time before he even started his world champion. I think that sets the precedent more for then, if they're good planning on doing Rock and Roman in the future. If that's the plan for next year, Rock and Roman. If Roman loses of his own accord, it gives The Rock more ammunition for their storyline.
Yeah.
It's such a brain messer upper, because I can't swear because I'm trying to be nice.
Hold on, I'll get the cursor ready. Hold on, go for it.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, brain fucker. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say Cody wins because I'm stupid. And I say it every time when someone comes up against Roman. I'm going to say, I said it last year, Cody's going to win. Didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Roman versus, okay. Do you know what I mean? I think it has to happen at this point. I mean, Roman's obviously teased about retiring. But then this is my point as well. If you're planning on doing Rock versus Roman next year, what are you going to do with Roman for the next year?
So I think Roman would take a break, and I think he would take a break anyway after WrestleMania. It's Roman; he's worked 2 nights. Let him have his time off. It's quite tough. But all kidding aside, I think that you have ways around this either way. Like, for example, if The Rock turns on Roman, fantastic. But if Roman loses, then it can be a case of, well, Dwayne, you come around, everything was going fine for 3.5 years before you rocked up. You were the one that suggested this tag team match. You were the one that suggested Bloodline rules. You were the one with this, that, and the other. It's supposed to be easy for me. We're in Brooklyn. This is meant to be a walk in the park, an easy weekend for me. You've turned it into a nightmare. Me working 2 nights in a row. How you talk me into that? This is all your fault. It could be a brutal beatdown. We send Rock back off to Hollywood for about 9 months or so because of the fact that Roman does the beatdown. Then Roman can take a big long break. We can do Roman versus Cody, the rematch at SummerSlam, because of the fact that it's a fluke. Who beats me? No one beats me. It's always in some ways and maybes of how they can work around it. So I think they have ways they can work with this, whatever happens. The only thing that I would say, where I think people getting their hopes up, is that if the original plan was Rock versus Roman, how do we all think that was going to finish? Rock wasn't winning the champion. I think Roman was gonna win. I know there was rumors going around of Rock winning and stuff like that, but I don't believe those rumors. So it just would not make sense to me. So I mean, Roman winning, he would continue anyway. So there is a chance Roman's reign does continue. However, I'm going to do the same as you because there's only one show of the year I'm going to predict against Roman Reigns, and it's WrestleMania. Because he's not going to lose this title anywhere else because it's a WrestleMania moment. It's the biggest title switch whenever it happens in probably our lifetime, which is mad to say and think when you think about it. But Roman's been champion that long that I think it probably would grant for most of the people watching this. So I would say that this is the right place. It's an even number WrestleMania, like we have 10, 20, 30. They've all been babyface wins at the point, and it's been like the underdog story and all the rest of it, going against adversity and everything. Daniel Bryan, obviously, Bret Hart, he who shouldn't be mentioned as well, had his WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 20. So it's just like, this feels like it's the right moment for Cody, and everyone's been crying for Cody. He's a politician, yeah, absolutely, darn right he is, but he does it so well. He gets everybody involved and by his side and rooting behind him. And I think Cody can go off, and he can be a SmackDown guy after this. He can be on feuding with the likes of a Randy Orton, or dare I say, hopefully Nick Aldis can come out and come back in the ring at some point. But it's just, they can leave that and go that way. They can do the one rematch with Roman, for example. He could be a free agent, but then Roman could be focused on Raw because all the Bloodline stuff is on Raw. Netflix will be with Raw, and then you can have that with The Rock in 25 minutes on Netflix, and Roman can have a match with Seth, and they can continue that on. So for me, I think that's the direction of where it should go with this. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna predict Cody Rhodes to win the championship. I think I said a minute ago, Avengers Endgame. I think it's the end game because everything has its time. Now it's time.
Yeah. I mean, what you said a minute ago about Rock versus Roman and what the outcome was going to be, that it just plays on my mind the fact that Roman was supposed to win that match. Roman was supposed to carry on being champion till Mania next year, till the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It just really messes with your head now because but then you sit there and worry, like, what do you do with Cody for another year? Because he's avoided everything. They gave him a short tag team title run with Jey Uso. Fine, it's a tag team title run. It's not. It's always been about that particular title, and you've got to then spend another year trying to work out what you're going to do with Cody Rhodes, how you're going to try and keep him out of the main event scene for the next calendar year. I mean, do you know what I mean? It'd be criminal not to put him against whoever the world champion is, Seth, Drew, Priest, whatever. And I think that's the other thing as well, is like I think they've got to a point where they've run out. Well, they probably haven't run out of creative ideas, but it's got to the point where a lot of people are going like, what do you do with Cody if he doesn't win this world title? And I think it also is probably more detrimental to Cody if he doesn't win, because not detrimental, discrediting, and like it almost makes it look like, what was the point in him leaving AEW and coming back to WWE? What, you're telling me they're going to run it a third time and do Roman versus Cody for the third Mania in the row? I honestly can't see that happening, because then we start really getting into 3 in a lifetime, and we get onto John Cena Rock territory where people just start getting annoyed with it. So for me, yeah, I can't. That's the thing, is I can't see them doing it all again. That's why I'm going to go with Cody. It's just that situation we put ourselves in every time we get to a Roman Reigns match. But you're right. If you are going to bet against Roman Reigns, it has to be at WrestleMania. There's no other pay-per-view throughout the rest of the calendar year where you turn around and go that this is the best. This will be the best chance for them to drop the title off of Roman.
Completely agree. As John Cena's theme song is, the time is here, the time is now. If he does make that cameo, Joe, if you're still watching, which I hope he does, it could be quite fun. But I said about the Cody's Avengers, he's going to need an Austin and a Cody, I think, because possibly even a Sami or someone like that to come in, because as I've predicted, and this is why I predicted them, I think Jimmy wins because they can take Jey out of the picture altogether. Seth will be battered after going through 3 matches before Cody's match. I think, or three different sets of opponents anyway, if Priest cashes in. So it's going to be interesting how it's all going to play out. But that's our predictions, and that's our WrestleMania 40. How did we do, everybody? Let us know in the comments. Give us your last takes, and we're going to wrap things up in the next. Let us know, and we're going to get things wrapped up in the next 7 minutes or so. PS says that the ultimate rematch in combat sports history. Ryan with us. How we doing, Ryan? Says, what if Priest was to cash in on Cody? Now I suppose that would definitely ruin a WrestleMania moment, wouldn't it?
If you want some major heel heat on Priest, that's the way to do it.
It is the way to do it. To be fair, it would get everybody talking. It would get everyone. Cody would finish the story only to have to start a sequel. CD says if Roman beats if Roman beats Coleman again, I'll do the Dusty finish, then the internet would blow up. Yeah, I mean the Dusty finish, it's all right if they restart the match, but yeah, don't do a Dusty finish like that. You just no. Not on WrestleMania. PS says so my prediction, Cody Rhodes finishes the story. Good to see it. CD says I just wish Cody Rhodes would beat Roman Reigns in a normal one-on-one match, but instead it'll be an overbooked stipulation match. Absolutely. But you know what? I'm glad it is there because I'm just not mentioning it, so I will mention it quickly. I was always the same. I've always said throughout the last 3 years, whoever beats Roman has to be clean, has to be one-on-one. It can't be. But Cody's been booked so well over the last 2 years. Cody, he's the guy. When Roman's not around, when all these other people, Cody goes everywhere. He does all the signings. He does all the dark matches. His main event of the TV shows, the PLEs. Heck of a promo. Everyone's behind him, and you just see the momentum the guy's had. He is the top guy without the title, and I think. Before it was all about making that new star. Well, Cody already is a star. I just think that it's like we said earlier on with Rhea Ripley, like made into a star and then solidified as a star. Cody has been made into a star. This would just rubber stamp it. It would confirm Cody is the guy by winning the title. So I have become a little bit less concerned of how it is done, more the fact that it is done. But I think it would be more classy if the interference is done, people go away, and these two finish it off.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for as well, is that we get a somewhat remotely clean finish. I mean, the only other thing is I'm sitting there thinking now is obviously Roman's going to be coming off of like a 3-year reign as champion. How long does Cody have this title for before he has to drop it as well? So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm just saying, how long does Cody have this title for? If Cody wins, for example, we've just come off a 3-year stint as Roman's champion. How long do they plan on booking Cody as champion? Because it almost feels like, I don't know. That's what I'm saying at the head of the show when we was talking about like this is all going to have ramifications over the next year. And like I said, if Roman wins, he's going to go on to be a champ for 4 years straight. What does it mean when it comes to him and Rock and Cody and all this? It's gonna be an exciting show, and I am really looking forward to it. I mean, I could probably like I said, I need it to be one-on-one for this match to finish. I can't be dealing with Solo getting involved or Tamatonga coming in and costing the match or whatever, man. I think this needs to be a point where it's Roman that loses the match and it's not anyone else's fault, because I think it makes it more interesting for him going forward for the next 12 months story-wise.
I think it should be Roman's fault, and I think he should blame The Rock. That's what I think it should be coming out of this. I don't think it should be done in either way. I think the right thing to do is for Roman to lose. And as for Tamatonga, I think he will debut on the Raw After Mania. I think Raw After Mania this year is going to go back to the glory days. I think Triple H being involved knew how special they were. Vince got the fingerprints on it last year, totally ruined it. And I think that Trips is going to make up for it this year. I think they know how bad it was last year, so I think they'll make up for it for this one. You know the deal. Thank you for checking us out. Says it makes me nervous that everyone is feeling it's Cody's year. Roman leaving as champ again wouldn't shock me at this point. It wouldn't shock us either, but we're hoping. We think it's the right time. We want to be bold, and we want.
I don't want to be up until 5 o'clock in the morning just to be not so much disappointed, but I think more underwhelmed at the fact that Roman retains.
Absolutely. And the last couple of comments coming from the deal. The Simon Roman's documentary almost makes me lead to think a Bloodline win at this point. Absolutely. I mean, we've gone with Bloodline for night 1. We've gone for Cody for night 2, but no chance of a clean finish. Wouldn't be shocked if Roman just grabs the belt, walks up the ramp, taking an intentional count out, and holds the title even more hostage over the next year. Now, that would be an awful finish to Mania.
No countouts, as far as I'm aware, because if it's anything goes, there's no countouts, surely.
If it's Bloodline rules, of course. If it's not Bloodline rules, then he could do that. And of course, that could lead to one of those GMs coming out, perhaps an Adam Pearce or this would be Nick Aldis, and saying that's not how we close off a WrestleMania, and just throw everyone back to ringside and probably restart the match, because Nick Aldis likes to shake his authority, doesn't he? But well, our authority is about to be taken off of this video because it's your turn to get involved in the comments below when we go off of anything we've missed. Anything you want to discuss, let us know in the comments below. I'll happily discuss it with you. Thank you everyone that's been watching the video. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Everyone that's been getting involved in the chat as well, keeping us busy. You have all been amazing. Thank you all so much. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to like it, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. And if you're watching on delay, thank you for taking 2 hours out of your life to watch this WrestleMania predictions video. We highly appreciate it. Massive thank you to the man next to me, NXT Steve, as well, who come on this as always and gives his opinions on pro wrestling as well. Always great details, great visions, great storylines, and fantasy bookings as well. So pleasure having you on board as always.
Dude, always a pleasure. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this one just because it's been a long time that I've been really excited for WrestleMania. Like, I'm talking Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30. Is it 35 where we got Seth, Kofi Mania, and Becky winning? Do you know what I mean? So, but I'm even more anticipating and interested and intrigued as to how this WrestleMania is going to go down. Now, the fact that this is essentially Triple H's first proper WrestleMania, I'm expecting some crazy stuff. I'm expecting some great stuff, and I'm expecting some shocking stuff. So I'm highly looking forward to it.
It's going to be exciting. Cannot wait for it. Bring it on. WrestleMania, here we come. If you want to check out my stand and deliver predictions, they're available on the channel for you right now. We've got a couple of podcasts available for you as well. We highly recommend you check out, including What If Every WrestleMania Was a Two-Night Event. We go through WrestleManias 1 to 35, giving what we think would be the other main events. But thanks all for watching. Keep an eye on the channel. We'll be back tomorrow for watch-alongs. And yes, we're going to watch along Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns from WrestleMania last year. Look after yourselves. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.